When I was just a little boy, I asked my mother, what will I be? Oh, will I be happy? Will I be rich? And this is what she said to me. She said, que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. Future's not ours to see. No, no, no. Well, when I grew up and fell in love, I asked my baby what lies ahead. Oh, will there be sunshine day after day? And this is what my baby said. Sing it! She said, que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. No, no, no. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. David, now play. Now I have children of my own. They ask their mother, what will I be? They say, will I be handsome? Will I be rich? Will I
get to go to the camp in Peachtree City?
I tell them tenderly, que sera, sera. Whatever will be. The future's not ours to see. Hey, 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 hey. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Hey, sera, sera. Oh. Whatever will be, will be. Oh, whatever will be, will be. Oh.
Okay, ding dongs. If you don't subscribe to Jeremy Ice and Fire, you're gonna spend the night in the box.
Welcome all to the Fromville Hour. And tonight is going to be a very, very, very fun one. I have a feeling you guys have been putting down some of the coolest, most extensive, longest theories I have been seeing anywhere in the From fandom, right here in our own Discord. And tonight we are going to go over a few of them. And of course, your theories in the chat as we discuss throughout the night as well. If you didn't throw one in the Discord, that is totally fine. Throw it right in the chat in here right tonight, and we will get to that as well. We want to hear from you guys. We want to hear what are your biggest theories heading into From Season 4, your biggest theories about the show as a whole. How is it going to end? Who's going to live? Who's not? We want to hear everything. Throw on the tinfoil hats and dive into the rabbit holes this evening with us, ladies and gentlemen, because we got some good ones. And we will be reading out Robert Saunders' incredibly in-depth theory that PM emailed to me a little bit earlier today. I do have it queued up. We are definitely taking a look at that one. I am very excited to read it. I haven't read it yet. I've withheld. I was going to read it before the stream, but I thought I'm going to read this live. I want to read this theory live and have my live reaction to it on stream. So we're going to be doing that, taking a look at all the other great theories in the tinfoil hat section on our Discord. And of course, anything that you guys want to talk about here in the chat this evening as well. Anything goes this evening, ladies and gents. Anything From related is on the table. So by all means, rapid fire if you want to. Let it flow. Let the tinfoil flow. We got Ragnarok in the house. What is up, Ragnarok? Good to see you. I see Samuel in the house as well. What is up, Samuel? Rock or flower? Rock or flower. We got Big Dago in the house from Villains. Yes, the From Villains are here. Welcome, From Villains. Always good to see the From Villains. Love it. We got Bill D in the house. What is up, Bill D? Another one of our extensive theory crafters. Incredibly intricate Bill Ds are as well. Probably the longest theories I've ever read, and they're all incredibly awesome. Super honored to have Bill D here. We got Samuel in the house. Samuel is picking the flower. There we go. We got Ando in the building. What is up, Ando? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got Illegal Mods in the house. Welcome, Illegal Mods. Good to see you. Can't wait for From. I know, right? It feels like it's been forever because it has. It's been a little while. It's been a little while. Unfortunately, gone are the days where we get a season of television every single year. Now it's more year and a half, 2 years in between seasons, and it sucks. It really does suck. But we're getting there. We are getting there, closer and closer and closer. It looks like we are going to be getting From season 4 very, very early in 2026. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping the earlier the better. So it's coming. A few more months away, but From season 4 is coming. But hopefully we can have a nice trailer coming out pretty soon. That is one thing I'm very much hopeful for. Yes, we might not be seeing season 4 until 2026, but we should at the very least get some kind of teaser or trailer before the year is out. And I'm very hopeful for that. Very hopeful for that indeed. And welcome one, welcome all, welcome PM, welcome. Good to see you, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I was just telling everybody about the incredibly extensive Robert Saunders email theory that you emailed me earlier. And I have it queued up. We're definitely going to take a look at it. I'm very much looking forward to reading Robert's theory in depth. And so welcome. You made it just in time. We are saying what is up to the chat. Oh, I can't hear you. You are on mute. I can't. No, I can't hear you. No, we can't hear you. Maybe. Hold on. Let me try this. How about now? No, I can't hear you. Yeah, pop out and come back in. That usually fixes it. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties here. You know us. It wouldn't be a stream without them. Yeah, while PM gets ready to pop back in, which hopefully fixes the audio issues. Who else we got? We got Golden Child in the house. Welcome, Golden Child. But yes, Ando, I mean, I'm right there with you, man. Cannot wait for From. Cannot wait for From to return. We got some good shows that are on right now. Some decent shows anyway with Foundation Season 3, Alien Earth. But it's time for the big shows to come back. The Froms, the Shoguns, the Severances, the House of the Dragons. Let's get these big boys back up and airing. So yeah, it's been a while. It's been far too long. Far too long. Got Susan in the house. Welcome up, Susan. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got Elizabeth in the house as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I see Howdy in the chat. Welcome, Howdy. Hey, there to you as well. We got the man, the myth, the legend himself, Robert Saunders. There he is. What is up, Robert? Good to see you, my friend. Very much looking forward to reading the extensive theory that PM sent to me. It looks good. It's packaged very nicely. I'm very much looking forward to dive into it. So that should be good. That should be good. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome one, welcome all. All right. Now, we got some, again, a lot of, and I mean a lot of really interesting theories that are in the Discord tinfoil hat section. And we're going to take a look at all of those as well. I don't know what is going on. Why can we not hear our wonderful PM? I don't know. I don't know what is going on.
No?
There we go. There it is. Perfecto. Perfect. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Welcome. It is good to have you.
Finally. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
It's like I was telling in the chat, we have a lot of really extensive fan theories in our tinfoil hat section. A lot of
Mhm.
really good ones, some super short ones, some that are paragraphs long, and I love all of them. But the one that you sent me from Robert Saunders, I've very much been looking forward to reading that for a
Mhm.
while. I love Robert's theories; they're always super intricate, super well thought out. You can definitely tell the guy's got the writing gene in him.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're going to look at that. I have that one all queued up on our slides, which we're definitely going to take a look at. But we're also going to look at some of the ones in the Discord as well, because we did announce just the other day. I announced this stream, and since I put that post in that tinfoil hat section, there has just been walls and walls of texts under it with tons of good theories. So we're going to try and get to as many of them as we can. Maybe all of them. Who knows? But I'm looking forward to this. I always love diving into the Discord fan theories because I've found, I like to venture out into the other From fandoms. I'm a part of a lot of From groups on various different platforms. But I must say, I never find theories better anywhere else than in our Discord with our people. Like, just never. We have the best theory crafters in the fandom right here in our Discord.
The best theory crafters and the best theories. They are thorough. They're really thorough.
Yeah.
I and so nice. They're working together, which is something that I really like. Like Robert Saunders is not just working by himself. He's working with Nick,
Yeah.
um, Justin oftentimes
Yeah. Bill
collaborates.
D's
So
always
this
in there
has
doing his thing.
yeah, this has
Mhm.
become a full-on collab, a group project, if you will.
Mm. And I love that. And this is why I love the From fandom so much. I mean, we cover many different shows and films and get introduced to new fandoms all the time. The Alien fandom's been pretty fun so far since we've been diving into that show, but nothing quite compares to the fun that we have with the From fandom. I consider it my main fandom. It's my, the main show that we kind of cover here on the channel. And it's just filled with the coolest people. It really is. There's never a dull moment when we're talking From, even when we're in the middle of a hiatus right now, where the show is still months and months and months away. It's still tons of fun every time we talk From with everybody.
Yeah, it's my favorite show. It always will be, and it's because we still don't know. So there's still so much to talk about. We don't know the answer.
Yeah.
Um, so we're still trying to figure it out. If you haven't joined the Discord, join the Discord because people are talking all the time. So I'll put the link in the chat. Um, Taryn also,
Yeah.
honorable
There's another
mention to
one.
Taryn. We're
Yep.
still
Another one.
waiting on this alternative ending, right? So
Ah,
right now we have a timeline. Okay, this thing is very, intricate and complicated. We have a timeline. As of now, we are in Christmas 2025.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Okay, that's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of really good ones in there, and and Taron, he had that great theory right from the very beginning that really got a lot of traction among the From fandom, and a lot of people really enjoyed it, and it was very well thought out. You just have some of the best theory crafters in the From fandom, and yes, the show of From, it's structured very much in a sense where it's very conducive to theory crafting. This is the kind of show that you're meant to theorize on. I mean, you don't write a show with this kind of in this kind of format if you're not expecting the fandom to theorize on things. You just don't. And yeah, there's some good ones. There's some really good theory crafters, and as you said, really good theories on top of it. Some good ones that I'm very much invested in. A few that I have myself. And it's just fun. Yeah, it's always fun to see where everybody's head is at heading into a new season, what they think is going to be happening, where do they think this season is going to take us, and then you compare it to what the season actually does later on, and it's always interesting. It's always interesting. A lot of people end up being right more often than not. At least the people we hang out with. You guys are spot on sometimes. That's very impressive. impressive. Oh, I'm sorry, Susan. My fan belt broke my car last night. I feel sorry for me, guys. I feel sorry. I feel sorry for you. I do. I am terribly sorry. That's car trouble's never fun. Yes, the trailer will definitely give us better theory, and that's why I want the trailer, Bill. Absolutely, because like we remember last year when we were waiting for season 3. Before we got like the main season 3 trailer, we got that little teaser, just that one little teaser of Boyd kind of in the barn, trussed up to the support team. And you could just see the look on his face. And we instantly knew he was watching somebody get killed in front of him. Like, I'm remember as well as I do. Remember all the theories that sprung out just from that one little teaser. Who's in there with Boyd? What's happening? Who's going to get killed off? Is it Sarah? Everybody thought it was Sarah. Sarah was like the main, at least that I was seeing in our comment sections around that time. I saw more Sarah theories than anything else, that it was Sarah in the barn that was getting killed with Boyd. And there were actually quite a few Tien Chen ones as well, because then when we got the later trailer, the full trailer, we see Boyd carrying a body into the church. And we saw a little bit of the clothing on the body, and it looked very identical to what Tien Chen wears. Kind of gave it away that, oh, it's like, okay, this is Tien Chen. And that's what's so fun about From and the From trailers. I really hope they do the same thing this year with season 4, where they give us just a little tiny teaser, little 30-second teaser, and then they give us a full trailer like a month later or so, like they did for season 3. That format was just so perfect. The theories that were born just from that little 30-second teaser was crazy in and of itself. Then you had the full trailer come a few months later, and it was just the floodgates were open again. Everybody was talking From, and you need that kind of momentum to build up to a show, especially when a show has been off the air for almost 2 years, year and a half, 2 years. You got to build that back up to get the the diehard From fans. We're going to be here no matter what. All you guys, all of us, we're always going to be here no matter what. But the kind of more casual fans that maybe aren't as invested as us, they need to be reminded that From is still around. So it'll be that good momentum boost I think the fandom needs once we get that first little teaser.
Yeah, when it comes to the marketing and the trailers, it's like, don't change a thing. Just like you described, it's perfect. The only thing that we have all kind of been saying, right, in the family is they need to advertise From more.
A little bit more.
Like, just push it out there, right? I mean, they pushed the Institute on us. That didn't go very well. But like, push From more. Use some of that marketing money to push From, because it's actually a really great show, right? What they wasted on the Institute,
Yeah, it is crazy to see the level of promotion that the Institute got compared to a season of From. I hope From gets similar or even better treatment in season 4 now that the show gets bigger and bigger every year. But yeah, I mean, that's one thing I've never been a big fan about MGM, how they handle their marketing. They kind of solely only market online, and they never really go out and market during sporting events, like football right around the corner. The NBA is going to be starting up pretty soon. Like, these are events that millions and millions and millions of people watch, that are into all kinds of different things. And so many people are into horror these days. Who doesn't love a good horror mystery show like this? This is a show that would draw a lot of people in if they knew it was around. So yeah, I would love to see them kind of kick their marketing up just a little bit more and start like running From ads on actual television, on actual like real mainstream television, and not just online. Don't limit yourself to just online marketing. There's a bigger world out there.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I see the chat is agreeing, right? The family, I love that. They're like, we're 10 toes down. You are. There is not a more dedicated and just, um, fandom than the family. Super nice.
There isn't.
Everybody is super nice. So I love that we have been able to keep the positivity in the community. That's great. But yeah, I think From, it's kind of one of those shows where you hate it or you love it.
Yeah.
A lot of people that I have attempted to get into From, they dislike it. They don't just feel like blah about it. They won't watch it. They dislike it so much because they're not getting answers. It's, you know, a hate-love relationship.
It does have a little bit of that. Like, this is definitely the kind of show that is made for a little bit more of a patient audience member. You know, someone who doesn't mind getting into that longer format of storytelling where you're not going to get answers right away. It's more about, you know, and that's why I always try to preach like this show. It's not about answers. It's not about a mystery. This show isn't about the mystery at the end of the rainbow. It's about the journey to how you get there and what it does to the characters involved. This show is about the characters at the end of the day. It's not about the mystery. Yes, the mystery is a nice aspect to it. And of course, we all want answers. But for me, I'm much more invested with seeing where these characters are going. Where are their individual stories going to go? How are they going to evolve over these seasons? And that's why Kenny's been a huge favorite of mine, seeing how much he's grown and evolved from season 1 to season 3. So that's kind of how I go into From, and I think that's helped me not get too frustrated with not getting answers like right away, because I'm invested in the answers, yes, but I'm much more invested in the characters, and that's kind of how I approach the show. What is happening to these characters? What is happening to this town as a whole? How are they going to come together to solve whatever problem that comes next? The answers will come along the way. But for me, it's about the characters' journeys.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you want to theorize, Rome is the perfect show to do so. But if you just want to sit back and watch great storytelling unfold, then it's the perfect show as well too, right? The characters are complex. Each one of them you care about. You care about them deeply. You're deeply invested. And you know, like the chat is mentioning, there's lots of other shows that they just were not able to do it. Golden Child calls the Institute an after school special, which is it was.
He's right. He's right. I mean,
Mhm.
I can't argue with you, Golden Child. You are spot on the money there, my friend. And we tried with the Institute. You and I very much tried with the Institute. You know, the beginning started off really slow. Like, it just, the character development wasn't there. The story intrigue wasn't there. The intriguing characters weren't there. There was one really intriguing character, and they get killed off in what, like the second episode? It's like, fuck, I'm not really invested in anybody else. It started to pick up a little bit right around like episode 6 or so. I remember episode 6 being like a decent episode, and I thought, okay, maybe it's turning the corner. Maybe it's actually picking up a little bit now. And then episode 7 and 8 came around, and I'm like, okay, it's not. It's not. That was a one-off. And then we had the finale this week, just the other day, the season 1 finale, which you and I watched. And I can't speak for everybody else, but I know you and I were a little disappointed. It was not a good finale, in my opinion, like, just for me personally. But I didn't really like the show to begin with. I mean, I wasn't too invested in the characters. I wasn't too invested in the storyline. The storyline was very predictable. So I definitely get what Golden Child is saying by it's kind of that after school special quality, because you kind of knew exactly where this show was going. There really was no mystery or anything like that. You knew what was going to happen. It played out exactly as I thought it was going to play out, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when you and I were watching that finale, we were like, wait, that's it? When it finally ended, there was no emphasis on the fact that that was the end of the episode. I was confused. I was like, surely this is just not it, right? It doesn't end like this in this manner. But yeah, I totally agree, Golden Child. Perfectly said.
Yeah. But I know some people liked it, and that's totally cool. I mean, not every show is going to be for every single person, and that's totally cool. I mean, how many people have we tried getting into Severance who just don't like it? Totally cool. You know, not every show is going to be for everybody, and there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, just wasn't too excited. I know it got greenlit for a season 2, so I'm happy that it got a season 2 for the people that are liking it. But it's probably not a show we'll be covering for the second season. But I don't know. I'm glad it at least got a second season for the people that liked it. You hate seeing shows get canceled if there are people that are enjoying them. So at least they're getting a season 2. So that's good. I don't mind waiting for answers because the show is so good. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Like I don't. I feel like the answers will come as the answers come. I'm not in a big rush to get the answers. I'm more interested in, again, where are these characters going? Where are their individual story arcs going? What kind of problems are they going to have to solve? Are they going to be able to come together? You know, are they going to grow and evolve as people? As those things, as good character development, continues, the answers will come with that, I think. And that's how it's kind of been for From. We definitely got a bit of a answer dump at the end of season 3. We got a lot of answers in that season 3 finale. So, a big exposition piece from Fatima when she kind of tapped into Smiley's memories about who the monsters are, their origin, that they were really the parents of the Ankui children. So we got a good answer dump at the end of season 3 that I imagine would probably satisfy at least some people that were really hoping to get answers. And I'm sure there's going to be more to come in season 4. It looks like they're planning 5 seasons in total. So if that is true, if they're sticking to that format, this is it. Season 4 and season 5. We're now at the beginning of the end. John Griffin called season 3 the end of the beginning. So naturally, if the beginning is over, now we're getting to the beginning of the end. And it looks like that's how it's going to play out over these final 2 seasons, season 4 and season 5. But I think season 4 is going to be a dark season for From. I put out a theory video right after season 3 ended on my I was one of the first season 4 prediction videos I did. And I very much am envisioning a very dark season for season 4. As tough as season 3 was at times, losing Tien Chen, losing Jim in the way he did, the way we did, I think season 4 is going to take that kind of energy and kick it up 10 notches. And that, which was one of my theories in the tinfoil hat section today in our Discord. How many main characters are we going to lose in season 4? And my answer was at least 3. We are at least. And let us know what you guys think in the chat. And let me know what you think as well, PM. Heading into season 4, we lost 2 main characters in season 3. How many main characters are we going to lose in season 4? I'm guessing at least 3, anywhere from 3 to 5. And my top 3 that are at the top of the board that I think are going to go this season are Christy, Ellis, and for the third, I'm kind of back and forth between Donna or Randall. I think we're going to lose potentially all of those characters in season 4. But at least 3 for me. At least 3 big deaths in season 4 for me.
Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot. But when you think about the fact that there's only going to be 5 seasons, it makes me think that we would lose 5 or more, right? I'm envisioning that the last season is going to be just the main players.
Yeah.
Maybe Boyd, Tabitha, Jade, of course. I mean, I would like to see Fatima, Ellis. We're thinking about the town taking from Boyd. This is where I'm going with the people that they take. It seems to be that they want to hurt, right? They said it. We want to break Boyd. And so it makes sense that they would target his child and, by extension, Fatima. So I'm thinking Ellis, Fatima, and Donna.
Ooh, Ellis, Fatima, and Donna. Yeah, Ellis for me, I feel like he's the one that's almost not guaranteed, but I mean, it's got to get tougher for Boyd. I imagine we're going to continue to see this trend of them breaking Boyd down, trying to break his spirit. And we saw how broken he nearly became just when Fatima was going through what she was going through. Mm-hmm. You take Ellis away from Boyd, I think Ellis or Kenny. I don't think Kenny's going to die. I think Kenny is one of the few characters that I am almost 100% sure is going to survive the entire show and be vital to leading people out after Boyd dies. I think Boyd will die in the final season towards the end, and Kenny will take over and finish the job. But if Boyd were to lose Ellis or Kenny, I do think it would break him. I do think that would be the final straw that Boyd would have a very tough time coming back from. And just from a writing standpoint, from a good television standpoint, you want to see your strong characters like Boyd be pushed to that brink to see how they handle it. Can they come back from that brink, or will they fall off the edge? And I think losing Ellis is going to be the mother of all tests for Boyd in season 4. So I definitely think Ellis is going to go. He is very much on the chopping block, I think. But
Yeah, and really, what is he adding? I know that they added the storyline of the child. They are
Yeah,
now the parents of Smiley. So that's supposed to give them an extra level of importance. But up until then, what was Ellis adding to the story? He
hmm
wasn't adding much, you know, in my opinion. The love story, I think, between Ellis and Fatima was supposed to be, you know, our love story that we rooted for
I
in the
don't
show.
know. Yeah,
But we didn't, I mean, I didn't. Maybe some people were fans of the relationship. I
yeah, I'm
really
sure.
wasn't. I really wasn't. I just felt like, okay, we're wasting time. Let's get back to like investigating and talking to each other instead of getting engaged and married. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I wouldn't take Ellis dying as a huge loss.
Story wise, no. I mean, for Boyd, it'll be a huge loss. Like for Boyd
Yeah.
personally, for his character, huge loss. But like overall, story wise, yeah, not going to be a huge loss. I agree with you there. Blue Sinks 3. I'm going with 3 too. Yeah, I'm thinking at least 3. If we lost 2 main characters in season 3, I think at the very least we're going to lose at least 3 big characters in season 4. At least 3. Xavier Anderson says 7 characters in season 4. Now that's the kind of bloodbath I kind of want to see. I'm not going to lie. I do kind of want to see them really turn the stakes up in this second to last season. This is the penultimate season, the season before the final season. So this should, narrative wise, the hero's journey wise, this should be their darkest hour yet. This should be their Empire Strikes Back, the dark hour within the trilogy where things get really bad, where our characters hit rock bottom, only to rise up once again in that final season and ultimately triumph. But until that happens, this season should be a very dark season for them. So yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe Xavier's right. Maybe we're going to lose 7 characters in season 4. 7. What 7 you think it's going to be, Xavier? I would love to know that. If you have 7 specific characters in mind, let me know, Xavier, what 7 you think that would be. Samuel says,
You know what?
Ellis.
That makes sense because we're supposed to have a massacre. So Xavier is correct.
Ooh,
There's a massacre
maybe.
that has been hinted at in all over the tinfoil
Yeah.
section of your Discord. People have been looking at the drawings and saying a massacre is coming. That is the next, chapter of this. Usually, that's what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people have been thinking that another massacre is going to be coming our way. I mean, if these cycles have been repeating over and over and over again, and similar events have been repeating over and over and over again, then yeah, there are a lot of signs that point to a potential massacre that is still yet to come, another massacre. So maybe 7 or more, as Xavier put it. Maybe it might be right. Maybe we're going to lose more than 3. Ellis, Fatima, and Christy are on my list. Yeah, I mean, Christy's another one that's definitely on my list. Like for me, my 3 were Ellis, Christy, and the third one, I'm kind of a toss up between Donna and Randall, but I'm leaning more Donna. But Christy, I mean, I feel like they have been foreshadowing Christy's death for like 2 seasons now. Like they've been kind of like throwing it in like right there out in the open that they are foreshadowing Christy's death with all of the conversations that she has with Kenny. The whole, if something happens to me, please remember you still have something to hold on to here. It's almost like they're setting that up for Kenny to have that one final test of losing the last person he really cares about here in Fromville. Yes, he'll still have Boyd, but at that point, Kenny will have lost his father, his mother, and now Christy. But they've really been teasing that Christy death with all of these conversations she's been having with Kenny, I feel, with the whole, if something happens to me, don't worry, you won't be alone. No, always know you won't be alone. It's like, could you foreshadow a death more than that? Like, she's got to go, I think, Christy. Oh, I can't hear you again. I think you're on mute.
Okay.
There you
How's
go.
that?
Good.
I see in the chat, Elizabeth Jaramillo is going the other way. So she'll keep Christy, but she wants Christy's girlfriend to go, Marielle, which is another very popular one, right?
Yeah.
The people who are sparing Christy's life really need Marielle to go. And I don't know. Tell us, Chad and Elizabeth, is that because you hope for a reunion between Kenny and Christy? Is
Mm.
it that you're hoping that they find their way back to each other, or you just dislike that she came in and just ruined Kenny's life that was
Did
going
she,
so well?
yeah, did she just ruin the vibe? Like,
She ruined the vibe.
did poor Marielle just come in and just ruin the vibe for Kenny?
Mhm.
Maybe. Yeah, I think an argument can be made that she did. But yeah, Ellis, Fatima, and Christy are all good ones. All good ones. 5,000, says Bill D. We're going to lose 5,000 people? That must not be that. It must be referring to something else. Oh, maybe it's referring to this. And I appreciate that, Robert Saunders. And you were right. I mean, yeah, when we got to season 3, by the end of season 3, we had, 300 to 500 people in here every time we went live, which was freaking nuts. But I appreciate the vote of confidence. Who knows? Maybe we'll hit that 1,000 one day. Maybe we shall. We came close to hitting 1,000 in our live chat during one of our House of the Dragon streams once. It was like 800 and something, I think, was like our highest. But who knows? I guess we'll see. We'll see how much From has grown between seasons 3 and 4. But honestly, I prefer chats like this when there's only 50 to 100 people in. Like, I prefer that number because it's easier to keep the conversation going. The chat was moving a mile a minute when we had 500 people in here. It was so hard to kind of see what everybody was saying. So I kind of prefer the smaller crowds, to be honest. But that's just me. Just me. Jim will return. Oof, Jim will return. Howdy can't take any more character deaths except Ellis. Yeah, Ellis isn't a big fan favorite. I don't want to go out on too much of a limb here, but just based on some of the comments that we see, Ellis almost seems to be in that similar territory as Jim was, where a lot of people don't really like Ellis all that much. We saw the love that good old Jim got. But Ellis is another one of those characters that it seems like a lot of people don't like Ellis. I know there's some people that like Ellis. I don't want to say everybody, but just based, in the little circles that we swim in, I've seen almost as many people not like Ellis as I've seen people dislike Jim.
Yeah, and there was a turnaround. We do have to acknowledge that after Jim's death, there was a turnaround. The chat did not like Jim, but
No.
suddenly we started getting people in the chat that really loved Jim, that finally understood his point of view. And the show did a wonderful job showing us from Jim's perspective what his life was like, right? We get that iconic line where he looks over at Tabitha all the way back from the beginning, right? We go all the way back to the beginning. He looks over at her and says, "Sometimes I remember how things used to be." And it's just so heartbreaking, so heartbreaking, because he just wanted his family. He was just holding on so tightly, smothering them, but he just wanted to have his family back. It turned things around for me, I'll say, because I wasn't a huge fan. But after that, I started to understand him and feel bad for him. The show did a great job turning around a character. I never thought that I was going to see it, but now he has people that really like him. Maybe they could do that for Ellis.
Yeah, maybe. And I'm right there with you. Like that scene, my heart broke for Jim when I saw that. The way this whole thing played out, when you see Tabitha and Jade get that memory back, and they kind of are like instantly in sync with one another, where they instantly remember it at the same time, and Jim's left as the third wheel and wondering what the hell is going on, like the third, very much the odd man out in that moment. And you see him kind of chasing after her here, and then the flashback is what got me. I don't know why. I don't know if it was just the particular line of dialogue they chose to use for that flashback, the way it was delivered, the timing that it was delivered in. Something about that line just hit me, and I felt so bad for Jim in that moment when he says what you just mentioned. Sometimes I think about how it was before. And it's something super simple, but the connotation behind it is so kind of real. and you can see the horrible and long and hard journey that these two characters have been on, not just as characters, but as husband and wife too, as a married couple. And just when Jim is kind of getting it together, just when Jim is kind of turning that corner and finally being that understanding husband that she has needed this whole time, we get this moment where they probably couldn't feel further apart from each other after Tabitha admits this to Jim, that, me and Jade were married. One of the Ankui children was ours. How does that not create a giant gap between you and your loved one that wasn't there prior? And then, of course, the man in yellow comes around and just punches Jim's ticket. And it's like, you genuinely feel bad for the dude, or at least I did. And like you said, I know we weren't alone, because I know that even some Jim haters were kind of feeling a little bad for him in this final scene as well. But yeah, poor guy. Get that good character development and then just killed off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honorable mention to your Discord once again. I do love Jim, love him. But one of the funniest things I ever saw was in your Discord. They said, a tribute to Jim. Jim died doing what he loved most, pushing away his family, because he pushes Julie to the ground. I was like, oh my God. Which he did. He wasn't the best father, but no. Iconic.
No, that was hilarious though. I do remember seeing that. Jim died doing what he does best, pushing his family away, and it's just a meme of him pushing Julie to the ground. That's fucking gold. Hilarious, absolutely hilarious. But yeah, and again, a lot of people seem to think we're going to see Jim again. There's a huge part of the fandom that thinks we're going to see Jim again. So I guess we'll see. I guess we shall see. But right now we got Robert Saunders for $20. Thank you so much, Robert. That is incredibly generous of you, my friend. Wow, thank you. Final answer. Julie saves the kids in the past, and the timeline is destroyed. From was never created, and the last shot is Boyd, Ellis, and Abby on his boat on the lake, which mirrors the lake picture the Polaroid took. Interesting. Now, this, in effect, would have been the lost ending. Or at least the lost ending that the characters were attempting to do. When you get to the end of Lost, one of the characters comes up with this kind of convoluted idea that he can kind of reset everything, so their plane never crashes and they never land on the island, and they all just live out their lives. So I feel like that might be a little too close to the Lost ending. I don't know if From's going to want to go like super close to that. Maybe, who knows? But I do think that would be an interesting ending. I don't know if that would be, I don't know how satisfied I would be though with an ending like this. I feel like this is why I get a little bit nervous when you introduce time travel into shows like this, because this is a very real possibility. Like this theory that Robert just mentioned, this is a very real possibility that the show could end in a manner like this now that they've introduced Julie and her ability. And that's what makes me a little bit nervous about introducing time travel or time travel-like kind of stereotypes in a show that isn't built around time travel. It can get a little convoluted. While this could be a very interesting ending, and I like the idea, as you mentioned with the Polaroid, I like the idea of it mirroring the Polaroid shot, of just seeing the boat, the lake, and the nice house, just super calm, super peaceful, a peaceful ending that would be, absolutely. But I don't know how satisfying of an ending that would be, just for me personally. I kind of want our ending to be tied to Fromville and to be tied to a little bit more of the like real mysterious origins of this place and like the the supernatural aspect of the show. I like the idea of potentially Julie going back and just fixing everything, but it almost feels like it's like not a lazy way to end the show, but just a little bit of an unsatisfying way, just for me personally, I guess. Well, that's just me.
Yeah, and I like the idea. I think that this ending, Robert Saunders, would make a lot of people happy. I do feel that a lot of people would be pleased, and everybody loves a happy ending. Of course we do.
Yeah.
And the answer being simpler than we made it out to be would totally match From. just like the Nkui word, right?
Yeah.
We convoluted that word into a billion different things, and it ended
Yep.
up just being remember. Just remember, mom. Um,
Mhm.
so I like that aspect of it. I have trouble with the whole going back to the past, saving the children being the answer, because it creates an issue in the timeline. If the children are saved, then From is never created. So therefore, if Void somehow is related to the people that were in From, is he going to exist? Do they exist, or is the world completely changed? Because they're all tied to this place
Yeah.
specifically, right? It is believed to be a familial sort of tie. So if From never existed, if the children are saved, do any of the people in From exist? Or do they all vanish from existence?
Mhm.
And
That's
in
a
a
good question.
way, it could be interesting, because that could be the trolley problem. Would
Yes.
you give up existing, you, your child, and everybody that came before you, in order to save the future people that may be stuck in From? So that creates that interesting, trolley problem. Um, would I be satisfied with that sort of ending? Probably not. I want it to be complicated, of course.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like I feel like it's an interesting ending, but it almost kind of wraps things up in too neat of a bow for me, I guess, is the problem. Where I do want our ending to be a little bit more bittersweet. I want it to be, I want it to have that sweet side where we definitely see our characters triumph in a way, but I want that triumph to come at a steep cost, a heavy cost. And I think that's why, this ending's just a little too neat for me. I want our ending to be a little more messy, just a little bit messier. Yes, I want our heroes to prevail. I do ultimately see Boyd dying, and I ultimately see Kenny taking over for Boyd and finishing the job and getting everybody out. But I feel like it needs to come at a very steep cost, not only in lives lost, but also in the trauma of the people that do survive and make it out. There needs to be some kind of cost to this whole story, to this whole place. There needs to be some kind of lasting effect, as opposed to just 100% a good ending. That's just my personal take. But if nothing else, this would be a neat ending. It would wrap things up rather neat. A little too neat for my taste, but neat nonetheless, for sure. But it's an interesting one. And again, with the whole Julie idea, story walking, it's an ending that's actually possible for sure, very possible. But we'll see. We shall see. Yeah, Jim's coming back. 1,000%. I've said this over. Yeah, Suzanne's been saying that Jim's coming back from the very beginning. She's been one of the earliest ones saying that Jim's coming back. Yeah, a lot of people think Jim's going to be back. A lot of people think Jim isn't gone. Jim's death was necessary for Tabitha and Jade, Tabitha and Jade further together, pull Julie and Ethan into the story center with some angst. Yeah, and this has been another big question, I guess, hasn't it, heading into season 4 after the whole revelation of Tabitha and Jade. That's been a huge question on a lot of people's minds. Are we going to see Tabitha and Jade become an item now that Jim's dead? I've said from the very beginning, no, I don't think so. I'd be very surprised if we see this show take that route where Tabitha and Jade start to become more friends. I definitely see them developing, as they have been already, a very strong friendship, a partnership in the sense where they're trying to solve this together. But will Tabitha and Jade become intimate with each other? I don't think so. I don't think we're going to see that. I get the feeling that Tabitha is going to remain faithful to Jim, even though he's gone. I don't see Tabitha ever kind of loving someone else, especially considering the way Jim died, the way that Jim finally kind of brought himself around to being exactly what Tabitha needed. I just feel like Tabitha would kind of see it as a betrayal, even though he's dead. I just don't see Tabitha doing that personally. So I don't think Tabitha and Jade are ever going to become an item, but a lot of people think they will. So you never know. They could. I mean, if they are these star-crossed lovers who were originally married and had a child together, and the more of that they start to remember, it could potentially rekindle something. So it's a possibility. But it's not something I would like to see. I really don't want to see Tabitha and Jade become romantically involved, personally.
That's such a difficult one.
It
Because
is.
part of me says, yes, I want to see it. That would be cute to see like Jade and Tabitha and right. That's a love story I could root for. Not Ellis and Fatima. I'm interested in that. However, I wouldn't like it. I would not like it. I think it would be disrespectful to Jim. He just
Mm,
died. There has to be a mourning, process here.
mm,
Her children are going to be so heavily traumatized. They already are so heavily traumatized that it would be extremely selfish of her to begin this relationship with Jade while her children are grieving their father. That would be
mhm.
extremely insensitive. And I more so agree with Theo, the partnership, right? They kind
Yeah.
of have a really nice banter. Jade and Tabitha have a banter back and forth where they kind
Yeah.
of were annoyed with each other, right? I like that sort of banter. And I think if you just add the fact that now they have the knowledge that they used to be soulmates or they were married in a different lifetime, that's another thing to add to the banter, to tease each other, but not in a way of romantically, just in a
Uh-huh.
way of like, oh my God, we can't stand each other. Can you believe we were married once upon
I
a
can't
time?
believe I ever had a kid with you. I can't believe I was ever
And I'm
married to
fully
you.
child.
Like I can definitely hear. I can already like hear Jade say that in his like Jade voice. I can't believe we were ever married. Like something like that. I can see. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a very good
Exactly. So that would be more fun. That would be more fun
Yeah.
to see them kind of working with added knowledge. Also, there is a specific thing that Tabitha says. When she explains to Julie what happened to her baby brother, Thomas, she says to Julie, specifically regarding the divorce, your father is the love of my life. And I think that that's meaningful. This is, after all, Tabitha's life. She is a reincarnation, but this is her life. And in her life and her timeline, the love of her life is not Jade, it's Jim, and will always be Jim. That's
Hmm.
the way that I kind of see it.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. I do. I see her and Jade becoming like really close in terms of like you said, like partnerships in terms of trying to solve this thing together. But I don't see them becoming romantically involved. I just feel like that's not where their storylines are meant to go. But I could very well be wrong. Definitely could be wrong. And Robert also brings up a second part of that theory. Now, this makes that ending a little bit more interesting for me, Robert, 100%. Because again, there needs to be some kind of cost. There has to be some kind of price to be paid. So this makes that ending a little bit more intriguing for me. There's a second part to the theory that they've discussed in the Discord. If Julie goes back and saves the children, then Julie will likely get stuck in the past and possibly become her own ancestor. Now that's the kind of quantum loop, Twilight Zone stuff that could be a little bit interesting. Now you're talking because there's a cost, and that's the one thing that I'm wanting for this finale. When From is all said and done, if our characters do triumph and make it out, there needs to be some kind of cost. Or if this reset happens, there has to be some kind of cost along the way. Someone needs to pay the price for everyone else's freedom and safety. It can't just be free. There has to be a price that needs to be paid. So this makes that ending a little bit more intriguing, where Julie, of all people, is the one left to pay that price. Julie's left holding the bill at the end of the day, and she's kind of stuck in a time loop, stuck in the past, or stuck in some kind of time loop for all of eternity. And if she does go back and does this, so that makes the ending a little bit more intriguing for me because there is a cost now.
Hmm. I like Robert Saunders. I really like that idea. Julie would have to sacrifice herself. And we
Yeah.
do kind of see her willing. At the diner, she tells Ethan that as soon as she knows, now I can change stories, I'm going to go back and save Thomas and
Yeah.
Tien Chen, right? She's immediately thinking about saving them. Now, when you talk about cost in the Discord, along with this conversation, we were talking about Thomas's death.
Hmm.
We believe, right, that Julie made the call that took the attention away from Thomas while he was getting
I love
changed
that
at
theory.
the changing table,
Love that.
because she was trying to save him. She's trying to save him, but she's just a second too late. She's always too late. Too late to save her
Mhm,
father, too late
mhm.
to save her brother, potentially too late to save Tian Cheng if she makes an attempt. But by trying to prevent Thomas's death, she actually caused it. She was the
Love
phone ringing. She
I
would
love it.
know her house phone number, you know?
Yeah. No,
So
I
that in
love.
itself, that's also paying a cost, right? It's paying a price for tinkering with the past, her brother's life.
Yeah. Yeah, a huge cost, and not only the sense where your young brother is dead, but now you actually have that knowledge. You have to live the rest of your life knowing that it was your meddling, it was your attempt to do the right thing that caused his death in the first place. I love that theory. I feel like that's a very interesting theory, and I really think we're going to see similar things like that in terms of there's going to be other events that have happened or that will happen that Julie has already been a part of in the past due to her story walking. Our current Julie just doesn't know about it yet because, again, time isn't linear for her. Time doesn't move in a straight line for Julie anymore, it moves in a circle. So, just because her story walking self has done something doesn't necessarily mean her present self is going to remember that until she experiences it in her timeline, which is why she didn't even know that she was the one who threw the rope until she experiences it in season 3. It may have happened, 2 seasons ago for us, but for her, she's experiencing it right now because time's not linear for her. And I think we're going to see other revelations very similar to Julie throwing down the rope, where she has influenced other events in the From timeline that we didn't even know about yet, but will be revealed in a similar way as the rope was. And that one is one of my favorite ones right there, PM. The fact that Julie potentially tried to go back in time and save her brother Thomas and only ended up causing his death in the first place. I love that idea.
Yeah, and we do have to acknowledge, in the chat, somebody makes a great point. Would Julie be intelligent enough to know that the phone caused Thomas's death and avoid making the phone call? Would she? Right? We kind of have to question
Yeah.
how Julie's gonna go about this,
Or does she
because
think
she
he's
is
calling earlier to remind them, to warn them?
exactly right. It's 50-50. It could go either way.
And that's why I love that one. That one's just, it's super complex and it's got like super like big, um, it's got big consequences behind it depending on which way it goes. But I feel like they revealed that Julie was the one who threw down the rope. I feel like they revealed that in the manner they did because they have a bigger reveal coming later on. You don't reveal something like that for that to be the only thing that Julie has influenced. You reveal something like that to show us as the audience that it's possible that she could have influenced almost anything now, and it just kicks the door open on her character in terms of what are the things she could have influenced. A lot of people talk about the talismans. Was she the one that originally went back and put the talismans there, knowing Boyd would find them there one day? Some people think she created the talismans. Like it just creates so many possibilities with her character. But the way that they revealed that she was really the one who dropped the rope the whole time, I feel like that reveal was there setting something up that's a little bit bigger, something huge, or at least a lot bigger than the rope that Julie has already influenced. I'll be very surprised if we don't get another one of those reveals in season 4 or 5. Very surprised.
Hmm. And I mean, this is really, Julie is becoming the most valuable player here and from having that ability. As of
Yeah,
now, we don't know of any other story walkers. Everybody's thinking maybe Eloise is somewhere out there story walking.
yeah,
Um, but what we know is that Julie is the only one that is showing this power, right? That could
confirmed.
potentially save the children. Exactly.
Yeah,
Julie was now one of the most liked characters in season 1 and 2, right? A lot of the fandom didn't enjoy her character or her storyline. They didn't really like Julie. And so now she goes from that to becoming the most influential as of now, right? She has the potential to change everything. I don't know if we like that. On the Discord, we went back and forth saying if this Robert Saunders himself, who has the theory of Julie being the answer, we went kind of back and forth asking, would you be satisfied if she is the answer? And being that we have Boyd, Tabitha, Jade, all of these other great characters, I would not be satisfied that she is the answer to the entire thing. I would much rather, Boyd or Jade, Tabitha.
Yeah. I mean, well, that was the thing, before they introduced this kind of ability for Julie, her storyline was just really inconsequential. It just didn't have a big impact on the overall storyline. She didn't have a lot to do. She wasn't a main character. She wasn't involved in any of the mysteries or anything. Her character was very much a secondary character whose storyline was kind of inconsequential. And now you do this in the course of not a single episode, but within the course of like 2 or 3 episodes, you reveal that she has this kind of ability. And all of a sudden she becomes one of the most important players on the board now. So that's a very interesting and kind of, it's a ballsy thing to do from a writing standpoint, to take one of your minor secondary characters that might not be like a huge fan favorite and all of a sudden elevate them to this super important position going forward. That's a risk. That's a big risk writing from a writing standpoint. But I think it can pay off. I think it's going to pay off. I think if they utilize this story walking ability in an intriguing way, like they did with the whole rope reveal, that was a crazy reveal. That was a good reveal. Like, and that was one of those things where I was getting to the point where I thought maybe we'll never find out who dropped this rope. And I was okay with that. I was kind of coming to terms with the possibility that we might never get that answer. But then to get that reveal in the way that we got it, really, that was a brilliant reveal for not only Julie's ability, but to give us as the audience that answer of who really dropped this rope. But yeah, it completely elevated her character into one of the most important ones on the show now. She's a very major player. So that'll be interesting to see how they utilize her going forward. How much is story walking going to impact the overall ending of the show? I'm with you. I much would rather see the ending fall. I mean, I'm totally cool with Julie having a hand in the ending, but I don't want it to be an ending where it all falls on her all of a sudden. I feel like I just feel like that's not her arc. I feel like that's not her purpose in the show. I feel like her purpose is to help facilitate this ending, but for it to all just kind of fall on her would be a little out of left field, I think, for me. I definitely, like you said, want to see Boyd have a heavy hand in the ending. Characters like Victor, the boy in white, Ethan, like the characters that have been foreshadowed to have a big part in the ending. Those are the ones I kind of want to see it kind of fall into their hands ultimately. But either way, I think she's going to have a much bigger part going forward. And I do think she will impact the ending in some kind of significant way, for sure. We got Samuel for $10. Thank you so much, Samuel. Very much appreciate that, my friend. The boy in white used telepathy to communicate with Sarah when Boyd and Sarah were exploring the forest. That seemed odd to me, especially considering what happened afterwards with Martin. What are your thoughts? The boy in white used, yeah, that's right. At the end of season 1, when the rain is coming down, we see the boy in white shows up to Sarah, but he's not talking to her. It's like you said, he's kind of communicating with her telepathically and telling her, you were right about this. Nathan was right about this place. It's angry, creating a sense of urgency and getting them into the faraway tree in what appeared to be getting them to safety. I know the jury's still out on what people think, that if people think the boy in white is good or not, and that what camp you land on, and that is totally up to you. But at the very least, we see Sarah and Boyd were exploring the forest. Yeah, it did seem odd to me. The only thing that seemed odd to me personally was how close they were finally getting to the lighthouse. Like, that's why they were heading in that direction. That, whatever was dragging their tent the night before clearly could have killed them and ripped them apart if it wanted to, but it didn't. All it did was drag their tent closer to the lighthouse. So whatever dragged their tent, I'm not 100% convinced that it was something evil or malevolent. I think it might have just been trying to help them get closer to the tent. Whatever this thing was that dragged the tent easily could have taken them out, but it didn't. So maybe it was just trying to get them closer to it. And then when they wake up the next morning, they're following the light and the sound and the horn and everything, getting closer and closer to the lighthouse. Right when they get super close to it, boom, the boy in white shows up and, points them in the other direction. Now, does that necessarily mean the boy in white is nefarious and evil? No. It could just simply mean that Boyd and Sarah were not meant to go to the lighthouse. That was Tabitha's job. That was Tabitha's storyline. Maybe Boyd and Sarah going to the lighthouse before Tabitha could have screwed up things for Tabitha. So maybe the boy in white just sent them in a different direction because he knew it was not their time to go there yet. This wasn't their job.
I mean, you bring up an excellent point. If they went to the lighthouse, they could have escaped. They would have been out in the real world, right?
Maybe.
However, now we know that Tabitha went out into the real world and it just brings you back. It doesn't matter how many times you go out. Potentially, it's just going to keep bringing you back. So it wasn't going to advance their journey in any way. When they went into the tree, guided by the boy in white, it did advance their story because Boyd was sent over to Martin, right? So that in a way did kind of help them.
It helps them and harms them at the same time. And that's what's the sketchy part about this. And that's why I love how Samuel brings that up on the second part, especially considering what happened afterward with Martin. Now, a lot of people point to that and they think that that's evidence that the boy in white was a little nefarious, that he sent Boyd to Martin knowing what was going to happen to Boyd. And who knows, maybe he did, but maybe it wasn't for a nefarious reason. Maybe the boy in white knew Boyd needed these worms to take out Smiley. But then again, Smiley just gets reborn anyway. So what was the point of it if the boy in white facilitated this? So no, you do bring up a good question, Samuel. As Boyd and Sarah are getting closer and closer to this lighthouse, why does all of a sudden the boy in white send them away? And then in turn, from what we've seen from some of the other faraway trees, it almost appears that the boy in white has a hand in facilitating in terms of where people go. So why, if that is the case, why did the boy in white send Sarah safe and sound to the basement and send Boyd to Martin? That still needs to get answered. If the boy in white is the one controlling the destinations, which I'm not 100% sure if he is or not. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people point to that scene in particular as, for being evidence that the boy in white might have a hidden agenda.
If we follow that, right? If we follow the path of what happened, yes, the worms help them kill Smiley. Smiley then is reborn. So you would say, okay, that was worthless, but it wasn't, because when Smiley was reborn to Fatima, Fatima gains this knowledge. All of a sudden, she knows the story. They didn't have this knowledge, and maybe they wouldn't have had it any other way. Potentially, he was just trying to get as many of them to know the real story as possible. Jade and Tabitha might solve the bottle tree, but he doesn't know if they will or not. This is another way of getting them the information that they need. The answers to the end are at the beginning. They needed to know what happened to the children. The only way that was going to happen was if Fatima gave birth to Smiley. The only way that was going to happen was if they killed Smiley. So really, it just keeps going back and forth. I'm still on team good. I think that the boy in white is trying to help them. He's trying to assist them.
Yeah, I mean, I lean a little bit more towards that side too. I feel like if he has done some things that might seem a little shady and seem a little nefarious, I get the feeling we'll find out sooner or later that it was all just part of the plan, that things had to happen this way. Just like how he pushes Tabitha out the window. I'm sorry, this is the only way. So maybe he is on the side of good and he is trying to break this cycle, yet he knows that is going to mean some hard choices that he's going to have to do. He's sorry, but this is the only way, kind of thing. So maybe I do lean a little bit more towards the boy in white being on the side of good. But that's just because I really like the whole cosmic chess idea that there's this grand kind of cosmic chess game being played in the background between the boy in white and the man in yellow. And those are the two kind of sides. But then again, I can't shake the interview that we did with the actor who plays the man in yellow himself, Doug. I mean, phenomenal guy too. I mean, the actor who plays the man in yellow, having a chance to have him on the channel, and the fact that he reached out to me and wanted to come on is huge. I mean, like usually you have to ask for these kind of privileges. I was so honored that he wanted to come on the channel. But after talking to him and hearing what he said about the man in yellow, it's been stuck in my head on repeat ever since I interviewed him, where he brought up, and now it's one thing if this is just a random theory, but this is coming from the actor who plays the man in yellow himself. Now, while he doesn't know where his character is going, this was simply just an idea that he had. It has nothing to do with the actual character. It's certainly not a spoiler or anything, but he did bring up this possibility to me when I interviewed him. And he says, everyone's just assuming that the man in yellow is evil. What if he did what he did because he had to? What if he's not evil? What if there's a little bit more to him? And I always thought that was an interesting idea. Like everyone is just assuming that the man in yellow is going to be this big bad character, this main villain. And yeah, there's evidence to point to that. Look at the way he kills Jim. But I loved how, of all people in the world, the actor that is actually playing the man in yellow is bringing up this possibility that what if he's not evil? What if he did what he had to do? What if he had no choice in this scene? What if there's a little bit more to his backstory than we realize? And that's always been a very intriguing kind of fascination, that even the actor who is playing the man in yellow isn't 100% buying into the fact that he is this big evil villain. Like maybe there's a little bit more going on there than we originally realized. And that's fascinating, again, especially coming from the actor himself. But yeah, I kind of like the grand cosmic kind of chess thing where it's the boy in white and the man in yellow, and they're locked in this kind of cosmic chess match for control of Fromville, maybe. But who knows? Maybe there's something totally different going on here. Maybe the man in yellow and the boy in white aren't these opposing sides of two different forces. Maybe they're just simply two different characters in the story.
Mm. I mean, I like that, right? It's definitely complex. I still tend to lean towards them being opposing forces, right? You have a
like
great video.
Yeah, I like the symmetry of it.
Exactly. You have a great video analyzing the differences, the contrast between both of them, the boy in white, the man in yellow.
Mhm.
They present completely opposite of each other, right? One is a boy, one is a very old man, one is very clean. He wears all white, completely clean every single time we see him. The other one is in tatters. We are to know that once upon a time he wasn't in tatters. We have paintings that depict them as a young man with a clean suit, but we see the way that he looks now.
Yeah.
And every villain has a story, so potentially he's doing this because that's the side he has to play. Maybe he doesn't enjoy it. That's why he told Jim, don't dig that hole, go and tell your wife not to do this. Knowledge comes with a cost. So he doesn't want to do it, but nevertheless, what he wanted was for them to stop looking for answers. That doesn't help them. That doesn't advance the escape plan. Therefore, he wants them to be stuck there.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean,
right?
I mean, there's a lot more evidence pointing to that, yeah, than him being this kind of benevolent kind of character that's really just filling a role. I mean, who knows? But yeah, when you look at his actions, when you look at the things that he did, a lot of his actions point to he does not want these people finding out too much. And clearly, if he doesn't want them finding out too much, it's probably because he doesn't want them leaving. So yeah, I think a lot of the evidence points in that direction. I just always thought it was an interesting kind of concept, coming from the actor who played him, that maybe he's not evil. Maybe there's a little bit more going on there. Either way, I look forward to finding out his origins, because like you said, if he is a villain, every villain has a story, as you said, and every villain has an origin story as to how or why they became a villain. Very few creatures, very few humans, very few anything are born just outright malignant and evil. That gets taught into you. That gets put into you based on experiences, based on trauma, based on things that have happened to you, worldviews and stuff like that. So if he is a villain, what turned him into a villain? What kind of led him down this path? Was this character human at some point? Is he just some other kind of weird entity? Was he born this way? Is he something else entirely, some kind of supernatural being? Or is he some kind of human that has also been cursed in some way, just a little different than how the parents were cursed to be these eternal from creatures? Who is he? What is he? Was he human? These are some of the things I really hope they touch on in season 4. Let's really get into the Man in Yellow's backstory. At least I hope they do.
I love that. I love that. Okay. Because then let's go further with that. If we follow that line of thinking, if he was the one that made the deal with the parents and he says, I will offer you eternal life if you give me your children, it doesn't seem that he was happy about what they did. He didn't reward them with eternal life, right?
Yeah.
He punished them. So even though he was the entity that may have offered them eternal life, he was disappointed and he punished them for so willingly giving up their children so selfishly, right? Like he's punishing them. He's not giving them what they want.
Yeah.
And so in that manner, it makes you think, even though he has these powers, he may be disappointed with humanity themselves and what they do. Otherwise, the parents would have gotten everything that they ever wanted. But no, this is not a place of happiness, and this is not, heaven for the parents. This is punishment. This is hell.
Seems like a curse.
Being stuck. This is a curse.
It definitely, I mean, if they were promised some form of immortality, I have to imagine this wasn't the immortality they had in mind when they were tricked into this ritual, this sacrifice, whatever it was. I have to imagine they didn't know the specifics, the details, that they were going to get turned into these from creatures, smiley creatures of the night. I have to imagine the details weren't there. They probably just heard immortality and thought, okay, cool, we're going to live forever. I have to imagine that there was some manipulation there on the Man in Yellow's part, or on whoever tricked them into doing this. But yeah, I mean, and again, that's another thing they really need to dive a little bit deeper into, the parents' original origin story. Yes, we know the parents are the monsters. We know that the Onkui children are their children that they sacrificed for immortality. But we need a little bit more. We need that full backstory developed in terms of why the parents did this, what led them on the path to doing this in the first place, and how are they so sure that they would gain immortality? Who manipulated them? Who brought this deal to them? Was it the Man in Yellow? Was it someone else? They need to go a little bit deeper into that origin story that we learned at the end of season 3. We got some good answers, but they need to go a little bit deeper. And speaking of things they didn't go deep enough on in season 3, as Wolfspear brings up, who or what was creeping around the cabins when Kenny and Jim were there overnight? Eloise, question mark. I mean, the Eloise has been a pretty popular theory around that. So I love the theory. It was a meme someone put in the Discord last year when season 3 was on. And I forget how it was structured, but the general gist of the meme was, it was like funny because it was like Jim and Kenny were there, like just stealing all of Eloise's food, and she was pissed, so she's fucking with them by knocking on the doors at night. I don't know if it was Eloise. Who knows? But that was something they didn't go nearly in depth on enough in season 3. They introduced it in season 3 right at the very beginning of season 3. The first night Jim and Kenny spent there, we hear this knocking. Tap, 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 tap. And if you watch that episode with the subtitles on, you get even more of a description. This is why I always tell everybody, no matter what show you're watching, watch it with the descriptive closed caption subtitles on. You will learn more context for things that you wouldn't know if the subtitles aren't on. This happened for us on Foundation earlier. earlier in season 3 when we found out who a very important character was, because they had them named in the subtitles, something we wouldn't have known if we were watching the show without subtitles. So watching these shows with subtitles can be incredibly beneficial, especially a show like From. But during that scene in particular, you hear the description say knocking, knocking, and then footsteps departing. It doesn't say weird noise or anything like that. It specifically says footsteps departing. That leads me to believe that it is something a little bit more on the human side, monster, a human, something like that, something that has literal regular footsteps that are departing away from the cabin. But whose are they is the question. Is it Eloise? Is it someone else? Was it a monster screwing with them? I tend to think it wasn't a monster. When the monsters are outside structures with talismans inside, usually they tend to fuck with people. They'll knock, yes, but they'll be like, hey, you need help in there? Why don't you come on outside? They won't just knock and stay like completely silent. So I don't think it was a regular monster. I think it was something else. Again, a human, Eloise, or some other kind of being that we haven't seen yet. Maybe the same thing that dragged the tent of Boyd and Sarah, even for all we know, or the same thing that scared young Tabitha when she kept finding her little, kept having her dreams of when she was a child and whatever it was that scared her that came over that rock as a child. We still don't know what that thing was either, but both of those things happen in the same area, similar area at least. But no, very, very big question that I was very disappointed that season 3 didn't go and answer that, or at least they didn't even attempt to answer it. We didn't get a single look at what was knocking on those cabins. They set it up very well, but they didn't pay it off at all. Hopefully they do in season 4. But what about UPM, and what about you guys in the chat? Do you guys have any idea as to what was maybe knocking on those cabins?
I mean, I really like the Eloise theory. As soon as everybody said it, I thought, that's a great theory. That would make sense. So I like that one. I would go with that one. Now, the rope makes me believe that every single thing that we have seen, like the pulling of the tent, the walking around Cannibal Village, will be explained at some point.
Yeah.
Because when we saw the rope, I think a lot of us, I myself, was totally okay with thinking maybe it's just magical. It's a magical rope. Nobody needs to throw it down. But they came back to it. They explained it away. They came back to it. So maybe it'll be something like that. And I tend to believe Eloise is the most likely culprit because they have been telling us she's not dead. She's dead, but she's not dead, right? I buried her, but her bones were so small and scattered that I don't know if I actually buried her. That's you trying to tell us that she's not actually dead, in my opinion.
It could be. It could very well be. Maybe. They got to dive into that a little bit more. That's definitely something. I was hoping to get a little bit more. They set it up very early on in season 3, so I thought by the time we get to the end of season 3, we'll at least get an idea as to what is knocking on this cabin. But they didn't even touch on it. They deliberately set that up, knowing they weren't going anywhere with it in season 3. So now that season 4 is going to be coming, they definitely need to touch a little bit more on Cannibal Village and what's really going on there. But yeah, I don't think it would be a human at night coming to that town. I mean, you'd have to be a crazy human to just be wandering the woods of Fromville at that night, that far away from like the main town, which is the only kind of safety that has talismans as far as we know. So yeah, if it's a human just randomly knocking on that door out there, it'd have to be a pretty crazy human, unless it's maybe Eloise. Again, Eloise might be the only human that would maybe make sense if she's been just surviving on her own in Fromville since 1978. Maybe she never made it out. She's just been here surviving the whole time. Then I think Eloise could maybe be a human that would make sense. But any human other than Eloise knocking on that cabin is highly unlikely. I agree, for sure. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe they have to do another sacrifice to complete the rest of the transformation. They have to have some kind of goal. Yeah, I do feel like there needs to be some kind of goal. I mean, whether or not there needs to be another sacrifice or not, I hope not. But I definitely agree there needs to be some kind of goal. Like we hear Ethan say very early on in season 1, which I think was a very kind of blatant allegory for how the entire show is going to go. Ethan says, this is a quest. And the closer you get to the closer you get to the end of the quest, that's when it gets the scariest. And you have to complete this quest in order to escape. It almost seemed like that was a direct blueprint for how the show is going to go out, that there is a main objective of sorts. And until they complete it, they're not going to be able to leave. They might be able to leave in terms of finding a way out, but we saw what happened with Tabitha. You leave, you just end up getting pulled right back in. They could all leave and all just get pulled right back in if they leave without completing whatever they were meant to complete. Which I definitely seems like it's breaking these cycles that have been happening over and over and over again with all these reincarnations and everything happening over and over. The boy in white, tried to help Christopher stop it, but unfortunately things went foobar during that timeline. And now he's kind of taken a little bit of a step back. He's not helping this group as much as he helped Christopher because maybe he's worried that his influence is deterring them rather than helping them. Maybe that's why the boy in white is so kind of playing it close to the vest. But yes, I do agree there needs to be some kind of goal. There has to be some kind of objective that they have to complete before they leave. Otherwise, they'll all just get pulled back in. And a lot of people seem to think it is save the children, save the Ankui children. Now, there's a lot of debates in terms of what does save the children mean. Some people think it means literally save the children in terms of Julie story walking, going back and stopping the sacrifice from happening. And some people think save the children means more along the lines of saving their souls so they can be finally at peace and be put to rest. I tend to think it's a little bit more of saving their souls, or at least I hope anyway. I really don't want to see the story just get reset with them going all the way back in time and saving the children physically. I like the idea of them helping the children move on and find peace. That is saving the children. At least I hope it's more along those lines.
Yeah, because then it would destroy everything, right? You have to undo everything that has been done.
It's like hitting the reset button,
and that would not be satisfying. Now, I would like to believe that they have learned their lesson from Lost, right? What you will be doing is repeating the whole Lost again, having people confused, saying, oh, so it never happened. Was this all just like a nothing thing? That didn't go well for them. So I would like to say they're not going to do that. There was interviews that they did where they said, this is not going to be like that. This is going to be definitive. There's going to be definitive answers because everybody was worried. Everybody was concerned that once again, we would get a great show and a lot of people would end up confused thinking it was all a dream. It never happened.
Yeah.
Which I know that's not the answer to Lost. But very passionate about that. But a lot of people thought that. And if you do that with From, a lot of people are going to think the same. You're telling me that nothing happened, so nothing mattered, right? You want it to matter. You want the story to have mattered. And on the point of sacrifice, I would argue that in From, we do see already From itself is taking its sacrifice. There's children. Right? We open up the series with a child being taken. So every single day, numerous people are sacrificed to From already. When you say maybe there's another sacrifice that has to be made in order to reverse the first one, I would argue they do it every day. They're taking lives, right? And they don't run because they know eventually you will succumb to them. The monsters don't have to run. They have all the time in the world. You can escape.
Yeah, they do. I mean, it's very chilling when we hear Kenny say that line early on in season 1. Like, this is why they don't run, because they know that there's only so many places we can hide. They're gonna get us eventually. It's a very kind of paints a very doom and gloom outlook on Fromville. At least these residents believe it's just a matter of time until they all die. None of them believe that they're getting out. And that's grim. That's a very grim way to go through life. We got Mick Light for $5. Thank you so much, Mick Light. And now this is a very interesting concept right here. And I think I kind of like the potential idea of maybe the writers playing a little bit of trickery on us. As Mick brings up here, we don't know if the sacrifice that Fatima saw and the Ankui sacrifice are one and the same. The writers are trying to make us believe so. Now, I think it's an interesting concept. I mean, when we go back to the end of season 3, what do we know for sure? I mean, at least what do we know? We only know what Fatima tells us. And this is my problem with exposition. I would much rather see a flashback of something than have it just explained to me through exposition, through one character just explaining it. Show me. Don't tell me, show me. That usually is the golden rule of filmmaking and of storytelling. Show me, don't tell me. It's a much better experience when you have the audience discover these things when they're watching them naturally, as opposed to just being told them like they're in history class and you're being taught a lesson. That's kind of what it felt like at the end of season 3 when Fatima was just going on this long-winded exposition. But we hear from her that they sacrificed their children. They sacrificed their children because it promised them immortality. It promised them they would live forever. And that's really all we get. Now, Fatima never specifically says the Ankui children they sacrificed. All Fatima says is they sacrificed their children. Now, yeah, we as the audience, I think we're naturally going to assume that it is the Ankui children. And I do think it is the Ankui children. But I also like this idea that of the writers potentially playing a little hokey doke on us, that yes, they throw the word children in there, instantly thinking that the audience is going to think Ankui children. But as far as I can recall, Fatima never specifically says Ankui children. She says the parents, the monsters are the parents, and they sacrificed their children. It promised them they would live forever. And we need to find out what it is as well, because something clearly convinced the parents to do this. They didn't just do this on a whim. Something convinced them, something tantalized them and goaded them with the promise of immortality. But no, I think that's an interesting idea, Mick. I tend to think she was talking about the Ankui children, but I think that's an interesting idea that maybe the writers are playing a little sleight of hand there.
Yeah, I like that, Mike. Like, also, Fatima does not know the children as the Ankui children. We know them as the Ankui children, right? The audience knows them as the Ankui children, and maybe even Tabitha, because she hears them say, Ankui, Ankui. Fatima has never seen the children. She would not know how to describe them. She's never encountered them, and she's never heard the word Ankui. So to her, they would just be children. Mm-hmm. I tend to believe that she did see the sacrifice, the original sacrifice. And From is really good about making you believe that you're not going to see the resolution or you're not going to see something, right? And then they actually show it to you. For example, I always go back to the Tien Chang death. They zoom in on Boyd. All we're seeing is that Boyd is kind of relating to us that they're doing something horrifying to Tien Chang. And so we close out that chapter. Mm-hmm. He's talking about it. And we're thinking, okay, we're not going to see this. And then, boom, they show you all of the details. They go back and they show you all of the details, right? You thought you would be spared. And it might be like that with Fatima and the sacrifice. She told us, right? But maybe they open season 4 with what she actually saw. And we get to see it ourselves. I do not believe that we're going to go through the season without seeing how the sacrifice played out. We're definitely going to see that. It's definitely going to be in the show. We're going to get to see how it all played out.
100% agree. I mean, they can't just give us a long-winded exposition like that at the end of season 3 and not follow it up with like an actual flashback in season 4 where we really see it, where we learn how this started, how it came to be. What was it? We hear Fatima say, it promised them they would live forever. What is it? Something clearly brought this deal to the parents. Something clearly told them, you sacrifice your children, you're going to live forever. Something brought that deal to them. We need to find out who that was or what that was. Was it the man in yellow? Was it the boy in white? Was it something else entirely? Who knows? But something brought this deal to them. So yes, we need the full origin of this sacrifice, what really happened, what really went down. And you can only do so much through exposition. At some point you have to show the audience what really happened. So I agree with you. I do, and I'm hoping we get that in season 4. At some point this season we'll see an actual flashback and get the full origin as to what really happened behind the sacrifice, how it really happened, who brought the deal to them, all of it. We need to see it, not just hear about it. We need to see it. And yeah, I think we will. We got Samuel, who's been a member for 7 months. Thank you so much, Samuel, for being a member. I think Eloise was used for the ritual. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. Eloise was potentially used. Now, if there is some kind of ritual that needs to maybe happen in every one of these cycles, do you mean like in the Eloise cycle, in the 1978 cycle, she was used for some kind of ritual? Or do you mean the Onkui sacrifice? Because we don't know when the Onkui sacrifice happened, but it seemed like it happened a long time before Eloise was ever born. So maybe Samuel's referring to a ritual that happened in the 1978 timeline, maybe. I think it's going to be such a disappointment if they build up this whole Eloise character for her to be dead this whole time. I feel like that's just going to be so anticlimactic. No, like they've been shrouding this Eloise character in mystery ever since her being introduced onto the show. And like you mentioned earlier, the last time we get any information about Eloise, Victor is bringing his father to what he thinks is Eloise's grave. But even Victor wasn't 100% sure of what he was burying, if it was Eloise or not. He said the parts were so small and so bloody, like he couldn't really be sure if what he buried was Eloise. And I feel like you don't leave that little bit of ambiguity. You don't leave that door open, even just a crack, for no reason at all. Like that, I feel like that dialogue was very deliberate. So for me, I'm definitely still holding on to hope that Eloise is alive and she's out there somewhere and we will see her in season 4. But who knows? Maybe she has been dead this whole time. I just feel like if she has been dead this whole time, that is the mother of all red herrings. That is the biggest red herring I've ever seen in my life. To build up this Eloise character as much as they have, only for her to be dead the whole time, that's a red herring right there. That's not cool, writers. Not cool.
In all fairness, if it happens to be that Eloise is dead, in all fairness, they told us multiple times. That's what I would say if I was the writers. I told you multiple times, Eloise is dead. Multiple times in many different ways. I told you she was dead. She's not going to be here. She's right. So they did tell us that.
So bad. That's so bad.
But however, right, there is a theories within theories, that Smiley was brought back because the fandom loved them so much.
Yeah.
Right? There's a theory that this is what we did. We loved him so much. He became so iconic that he came back.
Yeah, I don't know if it was planned from the very beginning. I mean, maybe it was. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think Smiley's return was planned from the very beginning. I mean, Fatima gave birth to Smiley, but her, the signs of her becoming pregnant happened before Smiley even got killed. So it's like, was this really planned, or was he brought back by popular demand? I don't know.
They might do that with Eloise. They might say, like, initially we told you multiple times she's dead. She's not here. Yeah. It was the drawings that we needed from her, and we got the drawings. But since they know that is a big question mark for us, they might bring her back. It might be a Smiley situation where, all of a sudden she's back. A lot of people thought that Eloise was Donna.
Some people did. Some people did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one, if nothing else. Eloise being Donna. I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like if they build this character up the way they did, for her to be dead this whole time, that's going to be again, the biggest red herring I've ever seen in storytelling. But I tend to think we're going to see Eloise. I tend to think we are going to see Eloise. And what is up, Rob? Good to see you, my friend. Welcome. my pal. I don't get why her bones would be so small. Yeah, true. Yes, I agree. The ambiguity was done on purpose. He clearly stated he knew his mother's body was there. I mean, it did seem purposely ambiguous, didn't it? Like, it's not just me, right? Like, it seemed very purposely ambiguous. Like, yeah, this may or may not be Eloise's body type thing. And I just feel like they're doing this for a reason. It felt deliberate. I don't think she's dead. I think Eloise is still around. The monsters don't like children. The first person killed was the little girl by Granny. Yes, true. Very true. I think she'll be alive or a monster. Otherwise, Victor wouldn't have forgotten her. I mean, clearly she's been gone for a while. So whatever happened, Victor's memory, his past, very, very traumatized after everything he's been through. So I get what they were doing with him just completely forgetting she ever existed. But yes, that also does point to the fact that she's been gone for a while. If she's alive or if she's dead or if she's a monster, whatever the case happens to be, she parted ways with Victor a long time ago and Victor hasn't seen her since. Otherwise, yeah, he would still remember her. So no, that makes sense, Elizabeth. Absolutely. They've been parted for a while, I would say. Absolutely.
Yeah. And Elizabeth reminds us of one of the many issues that we have with Victor's memory.
Yeah.
We can't really trust anything he says because he forgets things or he refuses to talk about them, right? He's, infamous for not wanting to address the situation, not wanting to tell us what actually happened. We still don't know how he survived for decades on his own. So hopefully in season 4, we'll get to see some of Victor's backstory and how he ended up being the only survivor for decades and decades, knowing that we know that there was people in the 80s. He came in towards the 70s, but we saw that in the basement they had clothing and it was very much 80s clothing. So there's like a whole chunk of time and people missing. The camera, whoever had that camera and whoever was wearing that 80s style clothing, we don't know anything about them.
No, we don't. And again, it definitely is at the very least some good evidence that there were some people that arrived here at some point in the 80s, meaning that there could be another cycle that we don't even know about in between 78 and our 2020s cycle. Because those are very clearly 80s clothes. Like, I mean, I know the 80s. I know what 80s clothes look like. That was 80s fucking clothes. So yeah, I don't know. That's another big question mark, or another at least indicator that maybe Victor wasn't completely alone for as long as we originally thought. Maybe there were some other people who arrived in between and were subsequently killed off and didn't last long. Seems like people got killed at a much faster rate before the talismans were found. So I think it's reasonable to assume that there were other people that arrived after Victor was alone and before Donner arrived 40 something years later. I mean, I tend to think there was some buffer there in between where there were some other people maybe showing up. So did Victor say he buried his mother and Eloise and none of us believe it? I believe him about his mother. I mean, we finally saw that flashback where Smiley killed Miranda when she was looking for the faraway tree that would have taken her to the lighthouse. Looks like she didn't get to the tree in time, and Smiley killed her. And Victor says he found her body next to the tree the next morning. So I believe Victor when he says he buried his mother. I do believe that's probably his mother's remains. He probably found Miranda's dead body, who didn't make it to the tree, buried her. But when it comes to him burying Eloise, I don't think it's not that I don't believe him. I think he might be mistaken. And I think even he kind of mentions as much where he wasn't, he couldn't be 100% sure if this was Eloise because the parts were so small and scattered. But he assumed that was Eloise, that these remains he was burying were Eloise's. So Victor thinks Eloise is dead. Was she? I don't know. Again, the way that he worded it left it a little bit ambiguous for us as the audience to think, why are they leaving that level of ambiguity there? Why are they not just saying this is definitively Eloise's body? How come they're leaving that little bit of room for doubt for us to think maybe it's not her body? Because maybe it's not. Maybe he thought he buried Eloise, but it really wasn't her remains. They were, from what it sounded like, pretty torn up. So I don't think it's not believing Victor. I believe Victor. I believe him that he buried his mother. I believe he believes he buried Eloise. I just think he might be wrong about the Eloise part. It might not have been her remains, but I believe him. I don't think he's lying.
Yeah, I mean, he believes everything. Victor is severely traumatized. Everything that he says, he genuinely believes. He just misremembers, and it matches. It matches somebody that would live through this sort of thing. Of course, he's severely traumatized. So it's difficult. It's difficult to trust in what he says. I mean, we have that whole puppet scenario where a lot of us were thinking, is the puppet going to speak? We kind of see him speaking, screaming, right? And it turns out that it wasn't the puppet at all. It was, what's his name? I can't remember his name, but it wasn't the puppet. It was that other guy that Jade reincarnated from.
Yeah. Jasper the puppet.
Jasper. Yeah.
Jasper the puppet. Yeah. I mean, if anything, the show has established that Victor is the eternal unreliable narrator. Didn't even know he even had a sister a few fucking days ago. Now he's all of a sudden remembering this is where I buried her. It's like, come on. So there's a little bit of there, but if nothing else, I think the show has established that we can't always 100% take Victor, what he says, at face value. He might believe what he's saying, but his memory might not be 100% reliable, that we've seen. So who knows? Who knows? Let's see what else we got. Let me scroll down here. We never even knew about Eloise. They made us remember just the name Eloise is lost time reference, is lost time travel reference. They could used any name. Yeah, they could have used any name. Wouldn't Eloise be younger than Donna? Well, that's the thing. I mean, I don't know if Eloise would be younger than Donna. Victor looks pretty old. I mean, he looks like he's definitely, in his 50s at least. And Eloise and young Victor, they looked pretty similar in age. I have to imagine there weren't but maybe a couple years in between them. So I think Donna could potentially line up to a good enough age that Eloise could potentially be around that age. Do I think Donna is Eloise? No, I don't personally. But I do think that, she could be, Eloise, if she was alive, could be right around that age range, similar to a Donna. Although, who knows? Some people think Donna looks older than Victor. They both look similar in age, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. And young Eloise and young Victor also looked similar in age, where they didn't look like they were very far apart. So Eloise is, if she's alive, yeah, she's gonna have to be old. She's definitely gonna have to be a little bit on the older side. She's gonna have to look, closer to Victor's age for sure.
I really liked when people saw the interaction between Victor and Sera. People were saying that Sera was Eloise, and I really like that theory. The age doesn't match, right?
Yeah.
The age doesn't match, but they were really behaving in a way that, a lot of people thought maybe she's Eloise.
Mm-hmm.
When you introduce time travel, anything could happen, right? Because you're bending time and space. And so somebody who should have aged goes back in time and, they could be younger. Anything is possible at this point. So I would like to know more about the rules of time travel and aging. We know that Julie's going to attempt to do that, and we see that her hair is different. That's the only thing that tells us that she is from the future. But other than that, she looks the same. Other than that.
Yeah. It's really just, it's amazing what totally, how much that completely, like, we saw instantly that this was not our Julie. And they did, I must say, they did a good job at the very least in the costume department. conveying that with just a single look. You could tell this was not our Julie. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I like the idea of, I like this. I like the bond that Sarah and Victor have developed. I feel like they had some really, really great scenes in season 3. I feel like Sarah was very vital in giving Victor the confidence to even meet with his father, because he was afraid to even meet with him at first until Sarah kind of got through to him. So I don't think Sarah she's just mathematically, she's too young. She is too young to be Eloise. But could she be a reincarnation of Eloise? That's a different story. The show has just recently introduced reincarnation. It is a thing. And one thing they didn't answer is it just Jade and Tabitha that get reincarnated over and over again? Or the original Jade and the original Tabitha? Are they the only 2 characters that are getting reincarnated? Or is everyone from that original timeline, from the original Jade and the original Tabitha's timeline, are they all subjects of getting reincarnated? Is this whole cycle being born over and over and over again? And if that's the case, yeah, could Sarah potentially be a reincarnated version of Eloise? Maybe. I think that's would line up a little bit more than her actually being Eloise. I think she's just too young to be Eloise. But a reincarnated version, that I can believe a little bit more.
I like that. I really like that. And I see that Jen, the teacher, says that she and Fletch, I believe, like Fletch the Cromanacle, came up with the theory of Sarah being reincarnated into Eloise, or
Oh, wow.
Sarah being a reincarnation of Eloise.
Okay.
I like that. I think that would match. And also, she has a brother, right? You see the things that kind of stand out. Sarah has a brother that passed away. Victor has a sister that also passed away. Yes, Sarah, I see the chat. The chat's gonna say he didn't pass away. She murdered him, which she did. Okay. Nevertheless, he passed away.
Yeah.
And so see, they're a missing pair. They're a pair and they're missing the other sibling. So that would perfectly fit Jen the teacher. I really like your theory.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, I could believe that more than her just being Eloise. Again, I think that I just can't get past the age discrepancy. But Sarah being a reincarnated version of Eloise, that, to me makes a little bit more sense. And maybe it could even go a little bit of ways as to explain why Sarah has these innate abilities, these very rare and special abilities that nobody else has. A lot of people seem to think that Eloise was a story walker or had some kind of ability, herself. And maybe she did. Who knows? And maybe that was passed down to Sarah if it is a reincarnation thing. But the whole reincarnation thing, they really need to explain that a little bit deeper as well. I mean, yes, we got the answer, or at least a answer, that the original Jade and the original Tabitha have been reincarnated generation after generation after generation, always to kind of get stuck back here in Fromville to hopefully fix what they couldn't fix the first go around, which was saving the children. So we know that there's been multiple different versions of the original Jade and the original Tabitha, with Jade and Tabitha being the current version. But they still need to explain what else. What about everybody else? Is everybody on this show a reincarnated version of someone from that time period? Or are they the only reincarnations that are happening, and everybody else that gets stuck there in Fromville with them are just, shit luck? I don't know. That's something they need to explain. Are there more people that are reincarnated versions of previous towns members? Or is it just Jade and just Tabitha that are being reincarnated and happen to be pulled into this town every generation with whoever else they get pulled into, like Boyd and Sarah and Victor and everybody else? How far does the reincarnation go? Is it just them two, or is it other characters?
I mean, I tend to believe that it's everybody. Everybody who goes into From is a reincarnation, and the world at large, right? If you have a rule, the rule must apply. Maybe everybody in this world, in this universe, is a reincarnation. You just are not doomed to be in From because you didn't take part in this horrifying sacrifice. So you just get to relive your life as normal. And you're only doomed to go into From if you are part of that bloodline. That would make the most sense to me. Now,
Interesting.
we do get a lot of people that fit the specific skill needed for the town. You get people that replace each other, right? Like somebody who cooks is replaced by another person that so happens to take over the diner. And
Similar
so that
archetype.
makes exactly.
Yeah.
But they have different lifestyles. They're completely different people, and take the same position. It makes me think they're reincarnated as well. Maybe they
Mhm.
have just always been coming back and taking the same job, right?
And that's why I wouldn't be too upset if this was a whole reincarnated deal where everybody that is here in town is a former reincarnated version of a previous town member. Because, like you said, the archetypes very much line up. Like we see a lot of these characters playing very similar roles to previous characters that were here in the 78 timeline. So I think that would make sense, or at least I think they've set it up good enough where they could go that route if they wanted to, where everybody was a reincarnated version, where everyone, and that's why we hear them say in season 1, none of us were brought here by accident. We're here for a reason. Katri says that very early on in the first season. We were all brought here for a reason. Not just a few of us were brought. We were all brought here on purpose. This wasn't an accident. So I think that would kind of fall in line with what they've already set up within the show. So I agree with you. I wouldn't I think it would make more sense if they were more reincarnations and they were all just destined to get pulled into this place every generation until they break the cycle. And Samuel thinks maybe Jade and Tabby keep getting dragged back to complete the sacrifice, not to stop it, not to save the children, but maybe to complete the sacrifice. Maybe finishing the sacrifice will break the cycle as much as we thought saving the children would. That's an interesting idea, Samuel, that maybe, and again, I wouldn't mind an ending like this because I need there to be some kind of cost. There needs to be some kind of heavy cost that our survivors pay. The survivors that leave, the survivors that make it out of all this and win. There needs to be some kind of heavy cost that they pay. Again, whether it's in lives or in trauma as they go forward. And something like this could be that bittersweet ending where this is how they get out, but they have to knowingly finish the sacrifice of these Ankui children, finish killing these Ankui children in order to break this cycle. That is a huge cost to pay in order to get out. And I wouldn't mind that. Again, I want to see our characters have to pay a big cost in order to get out of here. I don't want this to just be a super happy ending. I want it to be a little bit bittersweet where, yes, our characters get out, but they're going to have to do something drastic to do it. And that is drastic.
Mm. I like it, Samuel. I like the idea. However, I tend to believe that the sacrifice is complete. There is no need to complete the sacrifice. Tabitha and Jade tell us they failed to save their daughter. They didn't succeed. They didn't take her away. They didn't remove her. They didn't get to keep their child. They failed. And they sacrificed all of them. And the hope that they had turned into the tree. So that makes me believe the sacrifice was complete. They failed and they come again and they attempt to save her, but there is no need to complete that original sacrifice. However, I like the idea, like you're saying, Jeremy, of it there being a cost. The man in yellow himself says knowledge comes with a cost.
At a cost, yeah.
Could the knowledge of how you solve the From problem be that it's going to cost you your life? And we go back to the trolley problem where maybe you can close up this portal that From is, but it's going to cost you and everybody else's life. Nobody gets to go. Not Kenny, not Acosta. Nobody gets to go home.
No.
You have to now make that democratic choice to sacrifice yourself for the betterment of humanity and the future people that may be stuck there. That would be, bittersweet because we would get a resolution, but we would know that all of them are gone. And that makes sense to me.
I like that. I like that a lot. That is the ultimate sacrifice right there, isn't it? Like to the point where this is the only thing we can do. None of us are going to get out of here, but at the very least, we can prevent anyone else from ever getting stuck here again. That's a good ending. That is a good ending, PM. I like that ending because it is bittersweet and it does exact a heavy toll. And again, I need there to be a heavy cost in this finale, in this ending. However this ends, there needs to be a big cost. I love that. The idea that they figure out a way to complete this. They figure out a way to beat all of this. But in doing that means none of them leave. But again, they save future generations from ever getting stuck here again. That's a very bittersweet ending. That's almost more of a tragic ending, but it does have that, undercurrent layer of you ended it. You beat this place.
And
So,
I think matches with what we're told. The answers to the end are at the beginning.
Yeah.
The whole place started because a whole town decided that they were going to sacrifice their children. They all got cursed. We've made the observation that the monsters, they can't all be the parents, which means that other people in the town were cursed along with the parents, because it's not just parents.
There's too many.
Town.
Yeah.
The whole town made this choice. So maybe the answer is the opposite. The entire town has to make the choice to sacrifice themselves, not their children, but like themselves as people, in order to close up the, whatever from is. That makes sense, because what the Ankui children want is for people to be drawn into from. They made the tree, right? But we don't know if they made the faraway tree or if they made the tree that you see on the road.
Yeah.
If they made from, right? We don't know what tree. They just said they made the tree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which one? Did they make that tree that you see every time you enter from? Did they make that portal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is that debate. That debate has been going on ever since season 3 aired. I tend to think it's the faraway tree, personally. I think the way that they were positioned, the way that the roots were, the way where the sacrifice is, I tend to think that it was the faraway tree that they created, like the main big faraway tree that Tabitha uses to get to the lighthouse. I get the feeling that is the area geographically, like right below them in the caves, is where the stones were. That's what I think. Just because it's tied to my boy in white theory, I tend to think that when the Ankui children created this first faraway tree, they created a little bit more than just a tree. They might have created a sentient tree, in a sense, a tree that actually has a consciousness. And maybe the boy in white is actually the physical manifestation of these trees' consciousness. I mean, there has to be a reason why every time one of these trees gets used, the boy in white is there to facilitate that happening. The only time the boy in white doesn't okay a travel through the tree is Dale. And we saw what happened to Dale. He ends up dead in the wall of a pool, the Fromville eternal pool boy, as I call him. And another piece of evidence that stood out to me was at the end of season 3, when Victor went to go chop down the faraway tree, the main faraway tree, the one Tabitha used. The second he takes the axe to that thing, the boy in white shows up screaming, "Stop, you can't do that." I think that tree is very important because the boy in white's essence is tied to it. I think when the Ankui children poured all their hope into the roots above them, yes, it created the first faraway tree, but I think it also created an avatar of that faraway tree, a sentient kind of faraway tree. And I think the boy in white might be that sentience. I think he might be the spirit of these faraway trees. And that's why he controls the destination. That is why he's facilitating. Again, every single character that uses a faraway tree on From has been permitted by the boy in white, or the boy in white has been directly involved in every single usage of a faraway tree, except for Dale's. So I think, and again, you couple that with how quickly he showed up after Victor put the axe to that tree. When Victor was going to cut down the faraway tree, the boy in white showed up super fucking fast, almost like cutting down that tree would get rid of the boy in white, would kill the boy in white maybe. So I tend to think the boy in white might be closer tied to these trees than we originally believe. I think it would explain how he can facilitate their use. I think it would explain why he was so protective of the tree and why he didn't want it cut down, and why he never ages. Fromville never changes. He didn't start aging until Fromville as a whole started changing. The trees are a part of Fromville. So maybe that's why he's changing now. So I think he's tied to these trees a little bit deeper than we originally thought. But that's just me personally. Just I tend to think maybe they inadvertently created this sentience when they created that tree. But who knows? Maybe he's something else entirely, and maybe he's just tapped into the trees in some other way.
Yeah, I have been convinced, Jeremy. You have convinced me, not to mention the fact that you have that video where you point out he's dressed exactly like the children.
Yeah.
He's dressed exactly like the children, except he's not in tatters and he's not dirty. Other than that, he could be part of them. He could be part of the
Mhm.
group of children if they were all clean. So, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I think that that's the correct answer. I have been convinced.
I mean, he's he showed up lickety split, didn't he? As soon as Victor took a axe to that tree, the boy in white shut up. Stop! Like he was not having it.
I
Again,
love that scene.
that was a great scene, really great scene.
Because
It
Victor tells him, right? Like, you look different, like giving
looked
him attitude. Victor gives everybody attitude. You look different. And he's sick of it. He's like, you know what, Victor, I've had it. It's the worst day. He's been running around because this is the finale day. This is
yeah,
where people are trying to find Fatima. The Nkui children are running rampant. The man in yellow is killing Jim. There's so much going on that
yeah.
he's just had it. And then this guy is trying to chop down the tree. He's like, you know what, Victor? So do you. Like, so what if I look different? Everything is changing. Like,
Yeah.
I get to change. Like, don't even bother me, Victor.
Don't even bother me right now. I don't got time for your shit right now, Victor. Put
His
that
little
axe down.
fists were balled up. Like, if you
His
look at him
fist
in
was
the
ball.
scenes,
Yeah, yeah. Again, I mean, maybe it's nothing. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I very well could be, and maybe I probably am. But I just like that idea that maybe they created a little more than just the faraway tree. Maybe they created a spirit avatar of that tree. But Mita brings up an interesting point as well. Everyone pays generation after generation. They made a deal for immortality selfishly: vanity, greed, youth, adultery, like deadly sins, like the 7 deadly sins. And I like the idea of we're seeing all of these future generations pay. Yes, these original parents made this sacrifice to get immortality for themselves. Very much appears to be a very selfish act. I mean, again, we don't really know the full details around it, why they chose to do this, how they were convinced to do this, what convinced them to do the sacrifice, but it appears it was for a more of a selfish nature, to live forever. And we're seeing the consequences, the repercussions of their choice has followed generations and generations and generations and generations of people for decades or maybe even centuries after it. So yes, the original, it's almost the original sin that the original parents created. The original parents created the original sin, and all of these generations have suffered every single few years since because of it. But I like the idea of it. It's kind of a representation of the 7 deadly sins as well.
I like it. I like
Yeah.
it, but then it makes me think, right?
Mhm.
Like, the world nowadays, everybody has committed one of those sins, or a lot of
Who
people have
hasn't? Yeah.
committed
Who
some of
hasn't?
those sins, and they don't get drawn into from, right? So the world is not like so morality driven, because I'm guessing in the real world there's somebody committing adultery and yet they're not pulled into from, right?
Mhm.
um I like the idea, though, of having to pay the price for everybody collectively making a bad choice,
Yeah.
everybody making a bad decision. But then it raises another question, guys. This makes it seem as if they were just a regular town living a regular life and then were offered a choice and they made that choice. There's a line, though. They tell us the children were born in the dark. They were kept
The
in
dark.
darkness their entire life.
And
So
my
this makes me exactly. This makes me think they were never a regular town. You don't have children and put them in cages and then end up sacrificing them. If they were born in the dark, they stayed in the dark, and they died in the dark, that means that
Look at
from
the state of them.
conception, from conceiving them, you already had in mind that this was going to be their life.
Yeah.
To the point of keeping them in a cage.
Yeah. And that's the interesting part that you bring up. Like, if these children were born in the dark, lived in the dark, and died in the dark, and we look at the Ankui children, and their physical appearance very much does look like they were born underground and they lived their whole lives underground. They never saw the sun. They never, I mean, when you look at the way their hair's growing in, their tattered clothes, their hair's growing in all these patches, their scales, their skin's super pale. All very clear signs of malnourishment and not getting enough vitamin D, which would happen if you give birth to these children and with the sole purpose of sacrificing them. Then you're not just going to let them live like regular children. You're going to keep them in cages, and you're going to stay detached from them as you possibly can. So that always made me very interested as well. Whatever convinced them to make this sacrifice, did they just sacrifice children they already had? It doesn't seem like that was the case. Like, these children look like they were, again, like you said, born in the dark, died in the dark, almost like they were born for the specific purpose of the sacrifice. Maybe all of these Ankui children were born after whatever made contact with the parents made contact. Maybe they gave birth to these children just for the sacrifice, as you said. I mean, you look at how malnourished they are and how the state of them that they're in, it definitely, and as you mentioned, the very clear-cut line, born in the dark, died in the dark. These children didn't live normal lives. They weren't normal children at any point in time, it seems. So no, I think you're right. I think it definitely points a little bit more to this being more nefarious than we originally thought, where these children were deliberately given birth to, created just for this purpose. That makes it even darker.
It makes it even darker, and it changes the story, because suddenly it's not somebody showing up, right? The men in yellow's not showing up and making this offer. It's somebody showing up, like the chat is saying. We have great ideas in the chat of the offer being made before the children were born, and then the town making a decision to conceive these children. But then that makes it even darker for Tabitha and Jade. That means that Tabitha and Jade had to conceive a child for the ritual, and then at the end, kind of back out of it.
Yep. It makes it so much darker on so many levels, because, you're absolutely right. I mean, that means Jade and Tabitha, the original Jade and Tabitha, they were on board. At one point, they were on board. And maybe in the last minute, they decided they can't go through with this, and they tried to save the children. Because we even hear Jade say, when they got their memories back, we used to sing to them. So they clearly must have formed some kind of attachment to these children. Maybe the original Jade and the original Tabitha were the ones tasked with guarding them or something. So they were around them more than all of the other parents. So they developed this kind of attachment to them, sang to them every night, and grew fond enough of them where they wanted to save them. But originally, it looks like they might have originally have been in on this sacrifice at first, and then just had a change of heart. And that's why they didn't get turned into monsters, but they did get cursed with being reincarnated over and over and over again, to be cursed to be brought back every generation to try and fix what they couldn't fix the first go around.
Yeah. Much darker. I totally agree. It makes it a much darker story. And that scene was so moving, where Jade, like in tears, says, we used to sing to them, right?
Yeah.
It's like, but you kept them in the dark. The children were in such bad shape. They even had toys. That little toy that they keep building, they had toys down there because that was their life.
Yeah.
They keep showing Tabitha the toy, maybe trying to like trigger a memory in her. Maybe she used to play with the children and she made them toys out of things.
Yeah. It looks like they maybe just slowly started to grow an attachment to them, and they got to a point where they just weren't on board anymore. They figured, this is our last chance. Let's try and save these kids. And they failed. Clearly they failed. But that was a good scene, wasn't it? We used to sing.
So sad. Oh, so sad.
What's that? Ankui. It means, remember. We tried to save them. Because one of them...
No.
Oh, God.
No, I can't.
What just happened? We used to sing them lullabies.
We used to sing them lullabies. Oh, God.
So sad.
And again, this was a really good reveal, was a really good scene, and David Alpoy's acting is always just top notch. He's one of the better actors on the show. But yeah, you can just see it where he's getting hit with all of this all at once, just like information overload, just being downloaded into his brain all at once, where he's just learning all of this in a split second. Holy shit. We tried to save them because one of them was ours. Like imagine being in those shoes where 1 minute you're living your life, especially a life like Jade, where you have no real attachment to anyone, probably he's never been in love in his life or never thought he would ever have children or anything, or at least not this version of Jade. And next thing you know, you're just getting hit with all of that. And he plays it super well because it is such a traumatic moment where you're just all of a sudden you're learning that you lived this whole other life at one point. You had a child that you tried to save that got killed with all of these other children. Very heavy moment, but yeah, that was a great scene. We used to sing them lullabies.
Yeah. And, it's just heartbreaking, right? It's heartbreaking. But also we are reminded of Tabitha and her no, her denial. She just denies and refuses to accept responsibility for what happened. Because according to the story, once upon a time, you attempted to save them, but if you used to sing them lullabies, at some point, you knew and you were aware and you were all in.
Yes.
And she refuses to accept, accountability. To me, it made me so sad when the child comes over. They were always grabbing at her like children do to a mother. Right? When the Nkui children would show up, they would grab at her clothing and continue saying the word. It almost sounded like mom, when children want your attention. And she was always terrified of them. But now that she remembers that this is her daughter, I'm assuming, right? Because they had a daughter and it's one little girl that steps forward and
I think it's her.
Smiles. Yeah, it's her. She smiles at her like, Mom, remember? And Tabitha
takes off and runs.
I mean, she doesn't comfort her. She doesn't say, yes, baby, I remember. Or like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She takes off. She's like, no. And takes off. While Jade is having a breakdown of, oh my God, I'm remembering. She's like, I don't care. And leaves the poor child. Look, she's smiling at her mom.
Cute little smile. And she gets to watch her mom yet again fail her and just turn around and fucking run from her. Fucked up. Poor kid. These Nkui kids cannot catch a fucking break. But no, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, and I agree. I 100% think this is their daughter, like their specific daughter. This is the one that was theirs. Definitely agree there. And yeah, she just gets up and runs away. And Jade just stands there in utter shock. Jade doesn't even know what to do. He can't even move. He's just in shock. But yeah, I mean, if that was me, I mean, I imagine the first thing I would have done would be to wrap my arms around her. Like, this is my daughter. I would have gone right up to her and given her a hug. I wouldn't have run away from her. But I get it. It's a crazy moment. Who knows how you would really react? But I just imagine I would go towards her, not away from her.
I mean, for a parent, right? And it's very morbid, but you see it in the real world too. For a parent, it doesn't matter what condition your child is in, even if they're in this condition, that is your child. And once you remember them, like she tried to save them. So that means that there was some sort of bond or love. At some point, Tabitha loved her child because you made an attempt to save her from this. Yeah. No matter what state they're in, you embrace them. And I found it really interesting that she just like screamed at her. She's been screaming at this children. No, like
screaming at this kid. Stop for 2 seasons now, just screaming at these fucking kids.
Yeah.
And they're just
And
trying to
one
get her
thing,
to remember the whole time.
and her smile is just so sad because you see her take off and she's still like sitting there, like in the middle of the circle, waiting for her mom to come back, which, by the way, has been her eternal life. Her eternal life has been waiting for her mother to return.
Yeah. Yeah. She's waited all this time, all these generations, all these different reincarnations. I like, because it seems like this Tabitha version of the reincarnation has
Mhm.
gone further than any of the previous incarnations, where she seemed to have learned the most. I mean, it doesn't look like the man in yellow appeared in any of the other cycles, but it seems like he did when Jade and Tabitha got this close. They got too close. So definitely seems like Tabitha has solved more of the riddle than any of her previous incarnations. So yeah, this is as close that this kid has ever been to getting her mom back, and she just turns around and fucking runs from her. It's fucking, it's kind of weird when you think about it. But yeah, some kind of immortality cult, maybe they were a part of some kind of death cult. Maybe. I mean,
Mhm.
something convinced them to do this. That's one thing we do get from Fatima's exposition at the end of this episode. Um, she refers to it as it. It convinced them that they would live forever. So something convinced them. Something definitely manipulated them into making this move. Was it other people, a cult, or was it some kind of entity? I tend to think it was some entity, maybe the man in yellow or some other kind of entity kind of convinced the parents to do this. But I suppose it's possible that it could have just been a regular human death cult. I mean, that is possible as well. But given the supernatural angle behind it, I tend to think there was some kind of supernatural being involved that manipulated them into doing this. But
And honestly, religion is a valid answer because historically, in a real world, even us, like historically, we have had in previous times where people believe that in order to have crops or to have a better environment, you had to sacrifice a child, or you get that old, you sacrifice a virgin, which that was somebody's child,
yeah,
in itself. You sacrifice to the gods to please them.
yeah,
We're to believe that the gods told them to do this. Like in my own culture, the Aztec people, they would sacrifice people. But how do we know that they actually were told to do this? So maybe you don't even need the interference of somebody making a bargain with you. It was just part of their religion. Cult,
hmm,
you call it cult, but it was just part of their belief. Maybe they were going through a difficult time with the crops. We've seen how the crops grow, and from, but they also, just like they grow, they also wither away and are not, good. We saw that happen with Fatima.
yeah,
Maybe they believed if we sacrifice our children to the gods, they will give us, crops and a good
hmm.
environment. But I love Julian. Julian said, not gonna lie, if the children needed help, they should have said something. Which it was a lot of people had the same issue, right? Like, why do they only
I
say
should
one
just
word?
say something. Yeah, I know. It is a little frustrating, and you bring up a really good point. It's like, why all the secrecy? Why all the encouy? Why not just say, we need you to remember? Hey, come here. We need you to remember something real quick. Like, why all the secrecy? Why encouy? Where did the word encouy come from, and how did it come to mean
Yeah.
remember? Like, what the fuck's going on here? So yeah, I get that part. I do. I definitely get that part. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, they marked the door with lamb's blood. I remember it from the Old Testament movie Commandos. Yeah, mark the blood with the door with blood. That's how you knew, you were safe. That's how you were safe. And who knows? Maybe the sacrifice was just some kind of sacrifice that they just believed they were doing to their deity, to their god. Like maybe it wasn't prompted. It seems like it was a little prompted when just based on Fatima's exposition, but when it comes to these, religions, sometimes people receive what they think are messages and what they think are instructions. So yeah, maybe it was something a little more along those lines where this was some kind of, religious zealot kind of families, a bunch of religious kind of zealot families who thought that they were going to bring peace and prosperity if they just sacrificed their children. That's the thing. We don't have enough context as to how this sacrifice started. Well, how did it really begin? But yeah, I guess we'll find out. I guess we shall find out. But one thing we do need to talk about is one thing that you sent me earlier, which was one of the reasons why we started up these streams again. Our Discord has been insane lately with all of the craziest and most awesome fan theories that we've seen in a very long time. And there's one in particular that we did want to highlight. And, we're definitely going to have to do another Discord fan theory stream next week. I mean, we do Fromville streams every Sunday, so maybe for the next few Sundays our streams will be focused a little bit more on these kinds of streams where we talk about all of your theories and the stuff that you guys want to talk about, because there's a lot of good ones in the Discord that we really need to get to, and I want to get to all of them for sure. But tonight we definitely want to highlight Robert Saunders, who has a very interesting theory. Now, I haven't read this one yet. You emailed it to me earlier today. I made sure to kind of cut it together and get it here. And I wanted to see what this was all about, because we know Robert and everyone that has apparently been working on these kind of theories, Robert, Nick, Bill, everybody in there. There's some really good stuff, some really, really good theories. And this one apparently is called the theory. And this is a pretty extensive one. Again, I have not read this yet, but it's got about 4 pages long, and it's pretty extensive. It looks like it's well written, and we're going to dive into it. We are going to dive into it now. PM, have you read this theory yet of Robert's? Have you read the whole thing yet?
I have.
Yeah?
And it's amazing. Now, Robert is thorough. Okay, Robert is not just going to give you the theory, but he gives you the background. So I find it very, very interesting.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, Robert's theories, Bill's theories, Taryn, everybody that takes part in these kind of streams and these kind of theories, especially in the tinfoil hat section in our Discord. I mean, you guys have the writing gift. Not everybody is very good. Not everybody can write very well. It's one thing to have a really good theory, but to compose it into a story where you can present it like this is a skill in and of itself. And this is good. I want to dive into this one. I've wanted to read some of Robert's theories for a while now, because his are always really great. So we're going to take a look at this one. We're going to take a look at this one. It seems like it's got some Edgar Allan Poe Raven kind of mixed into it, if I'm seeing here. And I do like Edgar Allan Poe. Okay. In order to properly understand the dual meaning of the crows in From. Okay, so we're diving into some crow action. This is another thing. We have not really learned much of anything about the crows on From. Why are the crows all over the place? What role are the crows going to play? The crows are still very much up in the air in terms of what they're for. In order to properly understand the dual meaning of the crows in From, I think it's important to analyze 3 poems. The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson, and Forever is Composed of Nows, which is also written by Emily Dickinson. I am only familiar with The Raven personally. I'm not familiar with a whole lot of Dickinson personally, but I will read these other 2. Again, I'm familiar with The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, but I am not familiar with these other 2, but I will definitely check them out, probably tonight after the stream even. All 3 poems are covertly referenced in From and hidden in the background, whereby only viewers with the keenest eye will recognize them. Yet, when read together, I believe these 3 poems reveal the true meaning and symbolism of the crows in From. Ravens and crows belong in the bird family of Corvidae and the genus Corvus. They share many similarities, including their vast intelligence and obvious differences, including size and vocalizations. Nevertheless, although they have been referred to as crows on the show, ravens and crows are essentially cousins. Therefore, the terms can be used interchangeably. And yeah, I mean, even I see some people referring to them as ravens every once in a while, like whether it's in my comment sections or live streams and stuff. Yes, a lot of people call them crows, but even I've seen a lot of people say ravens too. And, you get it. Like you said, they're very, very similar, very close cousin birds, as it were. So ravens, crows definitely can be interchangeable for sure. And yeah, we got the very interesting crow kind of beak looking drawing from the intro sequence of the show. Now, that was one thing that was pretty interesting during season 1. The intro drawings were all super cryptic. Like it just looked like children's drawings. But as the season started to progress, we slowly started to see that most of these drawings were actually references to actual scenes in the show. A lot of them turned out to be. And the ones that we haven't figured out yet might show up in season 4 or 5. But this was another one that was always very interesting. But yes, it does for the most part, it does very much look like a crow's beak. Like you got the beak of the crow here, or the beak of the raven here. You got the eyes there, the head here. This looks like a crow. I like it. I like it, Robert. And of course, we got all the crows in some of the other drawings down there as well. We see everyone who stops here sees the crows. We know they're important. We know they play some kind of role. They're in not all, but they're in a lot of Victor's drawings. We see tons of these crows. So yeah, they're important. Whatever these crows are meant to be, they are very much important. All right, let's see what else we got. Part 2. Crows, let's do a little zoom. Crows seem to be esoteric, but are also a very important part of the iconography of From. They are not omnipresent, but they do appear in many drawings / paintings, the opening credits, Elgin's shirt, the cave mural, the peach truck map, and of course, flying in the sky above. Yeah, they're all over the place. They hit us over the head with these crows, like to the point where they have to have a deeper meaning. It's not just for aesthetic, I believe anyway. In fact, the very first drawing in the opening credits is a car on the roadway blocked by a massive tree with black birds flying above. Later in the opening sequence, we see a painting of the boy in white / man in yellow surrounded by trees with what appears to be a crow for a mouth. Yes, the mysterious crow boy in white drawing where his mouth literally looks like it's a crow. Yeah. During the opening sequence, we also see a few live shots of birds flying above, as well as drawings of the homes on Main Street with crows flying in the sky. Further, in that first scene of the show, the Matthews arrive and we see the fallen tree and the birds above, and Donna later explained that everyone sees the tree and the crows. What does all this mean? Yeah, what does it mean indeed? We get why everybody sees the tree. The tree is meant to turn people around to go back into Fromville. At that point, you're already kind of stuck. So, I mean, I get why we see the tree, but why the crows? Why do we see the crows? The tree definitely serves its purpose to turn people around, but what are the crows doing? Why is everybody seeing these crows on top of it? Contrary to many theories that I have read regarding the crows, I do not believe that they are harbingers of death or covert operatives of the big bad entity. Yeah, there's been a lot of theories of that they are, some kind of harbinger of evil, that there are some kind of surveillance system of the quote unquote big bad entity, whatever the big bad is. A lot of those theories have been going around for sure. I understand that crows are often associated with the macabre, and a flock of crows is also called a murder, and a flock of ravens is called an unkindness or a treachery. However, I posit that the crows represent hope. Maybe. Do they represent the exact opposite of death and destruction and all of that? Maybe they do. And concomality symbolize the cyclical nature of From. The crows are not evil, but rather they are most likely the creation of the Ankui children. Okay, ghoulish children. Maybe the Ankui kids created the crows as well. Now that's a new theory. That's one I haven't heard yet. We've heard a lot of theories around these Ankui children, a lot of theories around the crows, but I don't think I've ever heard that the Ankui children created the crows. Now that's a new one, at least for me anyway. Interesting, very interesting, if nothing else. Okay, let's see, where were we? As we have learned, when the Ankui kids were being sacrificed, they poured their hope into the tree roots above. As a result, the magical faraway trees were created, like the faraway trees who were created out of a sense of desperation. The crows who perch in the trees were also imbued with the hope of the children. Interesting. So they were regular crows at first, and they were imbued with the hope because they happened to be on the faraway tree. Okay. The Ankui kids' hope not only flowed into the roots of the trees, but also into the birds that live and reside in the trees. In other words, the crows themselves were also the manifestation of the children's hope. And I believe that the writers left us a clue in Emily Dickinson's poem entitled "Hope is the Thing with Feathers" is proof of this theory. Interesting, Robert. Very interesting. I like the idea that the children created more than just the faraway trees, because again, that's one of my own theories as well. I think that the children created a lot more than just the faraway trees when they poured their hope into the roots. I think the boy in white himself might be a physical manifestation of the faraway trees avatar. I think he might be the consciousness of the faraway trees, and I think the children might have created him themselves. But that's an interesting one, that maybe the natural regular crows that were just happened to be nearby had themselves imbued with the children's hope, making them these kind of harbinger crow / ravens that we see now. But if that's the case, I guess the question is why, and what is their real purpose? In the early part of season 1, we get our first clear look at 2 quotes from Emily Dickinson, written on the 2 black boards in the diner. The first quote is, "Hope is a thing with feathers." And the lines quoted from the first stanza, "Hope is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without words and never stops at all." Interesting. Dickinson's masterpiece was first published in 1891, and the poem sings of the robust, enduring nature of hope. It fits well with the Ankui children holding on to their last little bit of hope before they pour it into these trees. So the poem and the Ankui children's hope, at the very least, does kind of go hand in hand. So, okay, I see where you're going a little bit. Interesting. The picture of a tiny bird against gargantuan storms and gales reminds the reader of the immense power that even the smallest fragment of hope can hold, no matter how deep no matter how deep in the soul it is buried. The poem suggests that hope is a source of strength and comfort, and Dickinson emphasizes that hope is always present. Even in the chillest land and in the strangest sea, hope is metaphorically transformed into strong-willed bird that lives within the human soul and sings its song no matter what the dire circumstances. Interesting. I posit that the writers chose this poem as a literary device that reveals to the audience that the crows are a symbolic representation of the children's hope and a literal manifestation of their enduring spirit. The poem seems to aptly describe the world of From, including the fact that the numbers on the show represented music, and the bird in the poem sings the tune without the words. Dickinson also reminds us that even in the darkest of times, a small bird can be a beacon of light, guiding us towards a brighter future. Based on the title of the poem and the quote that was carefully selected, I suspect the crows in From are performing a similar service. The ever-watchful eye of the bird in the sky perhaps presents a central theme of hope that endures in each cycle and From until the cycle is eventually broken and the spirits are freed. Interesting. So not only were they created by the Ankui children, but they could literally potentially be a representation of the hope that the children poured into the tree. Interesting, Robert. Very interesting. The last line on the blackboard in the diner is a quote from Forever is Composed of Nows, which is actually the title of to another equally famous Dickinson poem. I believe the writers purposely combined these two poems into one to demonstrate the eternal nature of From. In the poem, time is merely a series of nows, and Dickinson poem recontextualizes forever as a stream of present tense experiences. In other words, each moment in the past was at one time present when it occurred. Each moment in the future will also be considered present when it occurs. Very similar to Julie. This is very similar to how Julie's storyline is going to be kind of interfolding. We're seeing her throw down the rope, and for that Julie, it's her present. But for Boyd and everybody else in the town, it's their past. So that could kind of fit into Julie's whole storyline as well, if that's what this poem represents. This suggests that eternity is not a distant or abstract concept, but is built from the accumulation of present moments. The nows flow along with the winds its way forever, taking the form of a snake biting its own tail in the mural in Ellis's and Fatima's room. Yeah, Ouroboros, very Ouroboros as well. In my theory, the residents of From are living in this very existence vis-a-vis reincarnation. The writers shortened and combined the two poems to demonstrate the dual concept that time and from may repeat seemingly forever, but so does hope. The eternal hope of the children is embodied in the symbolized by the birds. And until the cycle is broken, the children's spirit will live on forever. Interesting, Robert. Very, very, very interesting. This is a really cool theory. As always, very well thought out, very thought provoking, and is backed up with actual evidence that we see in the show. So it's not like it's just some kind of random tinfoil theory. There's some actual reference and actual things we see in the show that can back a lot of these things up. Like you said, the poems and what they mean, what the children mean, the children pouring their hope into the roots, potentially creating a little bit more than just the tree, which I think is true as well. Again, I think they created the boy in white, but I like the idea that they maybe created the crows, that they are the representation of the children's hope. And I like the idea where each cycle is born over and over again. And while each cycle comes anew or starts anew, or when each cycle starts anew, it might start with a massacre, but it also starts with hope as well. There's also hope present in every cycle as well, not just doom. So I like that aspect as well. I like the kind of yin and yang balance aspect of that as well. This is a good one. Wow, this is a really good one, Robert. Bravo. Impressed. I'm impressed.
Yeah, it's great. For me, it's when he connected, the Emily Dickinson hope is the thing with feathers, that it all makes sense. The crows are related to the children. The crows are a hopeful and helpful feature of
Yeah.
From. And they talk about it all the time. The people in From talk about how you get something, but something is taken away. Sarah mentions how it just seems like the forest wants and takes, right? It punishes them, but then they also get food, right? We see a cycle of giving them just enough hope to make them believe that they can survive, and then taking it from them, taking things back. So we see that at play there's two forces, and the crows, while they have a connotation of being a dark or malevolent thing, the crows may be a positive thing. They may be connected to the children and be something that is trying to assist the residents of From. Cherry Ann has a wonderful question and a follow-up to Robert. Robert, if you're in the chat, maybe you could let us know, and maybe you have an idea about it, Jeremy. But she's asking if the crows are, a positive thing related to the children, if they are hopeful and helpful. What do we make of the crow that interrupted the tarot reading where Fatima would have found out that her baby is not a human baby, but, Smiley. That
Ah,
wasn't super helpful, was it?
interesting. Interesting. Yeah, and that one scene, the crows did start to seem a little more malevolent instead of benevolent in that one scene. Yeah, why did the crows not want this tarot reading to happen? Why did they not want Fatima to see what this potential fate was? Was it going to reveal that she was carrying Smiley, as you mentioned? Yeah, it's a good question. Very good question, Sherry Ann. Very good question. Yeah, I don't know. Don't know. Yeah, if they are the harbinger of good, if they are meant to be the manifestation of hope, um, you would think that they would be doing things to help, maybe. But they don't. The crows don't seem to be doing a whole lot to help. They kind of just seem to be in the background. But in this one case, they do directly get involved in the storyline, and it actively prevents Fatima's reading from happening. So that's a good point. Very, very good point, Sherry. Yeah, I don't know. Good stuff.
And Elgin, if Elgin, right, we see him wearing this shirt with the crow. If Elgin is the representation of the crow, Elgin was, you know, trying to assist the kimono woman in keeping Fatima away. That wasn't the most positive thing either. But,
Mm,
I tend to believe towards the crows being hopeful and good and great, but they don't seem to be doing great things now. We have to
yeah,
acknowledge that that in itself was not the most positive thing.
yeah, that's a good point. Very good points. Both very good points, indeed. Fromville sucks. Kids eat kids eat rats. People get impregnated by smileys. It's like 2 days adults eat and drink, and it's FDA approved, like Adam and Eve, and drink blood. But I could survive from. It's not The Walking Dead. Yeah, I mean, when you think about all the worlds that one could survive in, zombie apocalypse, Walking Dead, all the different zombie apocalypse from, I think if you have talismans, surviving from's a little bit easier, but there's also a lot of other stuff you have to worry about that talismans might not protect you from and from. We saw that in season 2. This entity that was plaguing the town certainly did the talisman certainly did not keep it out. This thing was actively killing people inside their homes during the day. So the talismans don't keep everything out, and I think we're going to come to see that the talismans aren't going to keep out the man in yellow either. I'll be very surprised if the talismans work on the man in yellow. The man in yellow seems to be something entirely different. It seems like the talismans work just for the monsters that we know and love. But all these other entities, all these other weird things, I don't know if the talisman's going to work for them. Again, I'll be very surprised if the talismans keep out the man in yellow.
Mm. Yeah, and you bring up a good point. A lot of us were thinking that an investigation is going to unfold into the death of Jim, but that's assuming that the man in yellow is not going to be walking around town.
Yeah,
We don't know,
true.
right? He might just be walking around town during the day and during the night. It doesn't seem to have an effect on him.
Yeah. Yeah, he can walk out right during the day. I mean, he's not beholden to the same rules and regulations that the other monsters seem to be beholden to. So why would a talisman work for him? I don't think it would make sense that a talisman would keep him out. Yeah, I don't know. Good stuff. Though. I mean, really, really, really great theories. Really, really great theories. Absolutely love it. Really good stuff, and great questions too, in response, and great comments in response. Um, I think the crows are the monsters, astral projecting. Crows by day, monsters by night. That's a pretty popular theory as well. A lot of people seem to think that the crows are the monsters like day form. And while I thought that was an interesting theory at first, I feel like since we've seen the monsters during the day in the caves and they're kind of in their monster form, I'm not so sure that could be possible now. But it was an interesting one at the very beginning, and it was a popular one at the very beginning too. That the crows were actually what the monsters did during the day, and I mean, until we saw the caves, it it,
Yeah.
it held up. But yeah, who knows? Who knows? What do you think the talismans are made of? Now, that's an interesting question. Like, how do these talismans get made, and what are they made of? Is it just simply a regular rock? Like I have a talisman shirt on right now. Love it. One of my favorite shirts. But is it simply just a regular rock? All you got to do is carve these symbols on it and boom, you got a talisman? Or does something a little bit more go into making these talismans? Because if all it takes is carving these little symbols into rocks, how come they haven't made more talismans yet? How come they haven't replicated and duplicated all of these talismans on the show yet? How come they haven't even tried to do it?
Yeah.
That's my thing. Like, we know that they only have 12 talismans. The show has confirmed this numerous times. There's only 12 talismans. So if it is just as simple as grabbing any old rock and putting this symbol in it, why haven't they tried to make more? How come they haven't even touched on the possibility of trying to make more? I think I would love to see that scene one day where Boyd tried to make another talisman and went to test it out and found out that it didn't work. That at least would give us a little bit more of an answer that something more goes into making these talismans. It's not just simply replicating this carving into a rock. Something more created these things.
Yeah, I love the question, right? I love the question because wouldn't that be your natural, next idea? We only have 12 or we only have 7. Let's make another one. Let's try it. So, or at least see somebody attempting to reproduce it, right? You would think.
Try.
You would think, and nobody has tried. And we do see that Randall likes carving into things. So he would be somebody that could potentially try. He was the only one that tried like putting the talisman around, holding it up. And the lady just laughed at him like, oh, sweetie, it doesn't work that way, which makes me think that it's not even the object. To me, that whole scene is like, there's rules to this game. We are playing a game and we honor it only because you're hanging it the right way. Because once it falls, they go right into the house. That it doesn't seem to affect them, right? So it might not be that it's made out of anything specific or super special. It might just be part of the rules. Because she was not affected by him holding the talisman up to her. She laughed in his face.
Oh, sweetie, doesn't work that way.
Right? Because he had a great idea. He was the only one who thought, maybe if I put it around me, I could just be out at night.
Just a fucking portable fucking safe zone, just right around my neck. I'm good. I mean,
which
nice
would be
thought.
perfect.
Yeah.
But she lets us know there are rules and regulations in this town, and it's not what it's made out of. It's not going to burn her. She's not a vampire. It's just the fact that we follow the rules when you're placing them exactly as they should be placed. Now, Lily Del Valle, our very own friend, has the answer, right? Because the natural conclusion to this question is, who would want to test them? Let's say that you do reproduce them and you hand them out. Who wants the reproduction and not the real thing?
I mean, it's got to be Boyd.
I wouldn't.
It's got to be Boyd. I feel like Boyd would be brave enough to at least try. If you do it in a place that has like multiple exits where you can kind of, these things are slow. All they do is walk for the most part. They're easy to evade. So I think Boyd would be an ideal candidate to try something like this somewhere, some kind of building, some kind of house that had multiple exits. And you just try, hang up the talisman that you made, see if the monsters can come in or not. You'll get a definitive answer one way or another, I would imagine. And I think Boyd would be brave enough to try it. But yeah, I mean, that was always one thing that bugged me a little bit on the show, that not only have they never tried to make more talismans, but the show's never even discussed it. Like out of all of these people that are stuck here, knowing that they only have 12 of these talismans and knowing that these talismans, at least for the most part, just appear to look like a regular rock with some carvings on it. Nobody has ever even asked the question, can we make more of these things? That's one, for me, that's a problem with the writing. And while most of the writing on From is great, I don't have much problem with a lot of the writing. That was one thing that I had a problem for. I feel like that's a writing error where, it's just basic human nature to ask, can I make more of these? Knowing, whenever you have a limited resource of anything, one of the first things a human is going to ask is, how can I get more of this resource, this precious resource? How can I get more of it? So the fact that it was never brought up once, the fact that they never even attempted to try and make more talismans, or we never even heard anyone even talk about it, that is a problem with the writing, in my opinion. I hope we see it at some point, but you would think just basic human nature would try to replicate this resource with how precious it is. Somebody would have thought about trying that at this point. Somebody would have thought of it. So yeah, the fact that we've never even heard them talk about that is a little bit of a missed opportunity for the writing, in my opinion.
I mean, it makes perfect sense, but it brings up another great point. Maybe they're going to explain it away in the next season or the 5th season. They're going to explain to us why people are not making the choices that seem most logical. Because along with that choice is the talking, which we're all angry about. Why wouldn't you talk? You see something strange. Why wouldn't you turn to the next available person and say, hey, I'm seeing a kimono lady that wants me to follow her, right? Why wouldn't you communicate? If you're trying to get out, at least somebody would go around and say, you guys, we need to gather. We need to get together. We need to figure this out as a team, as a group. I know that Jade here pictured has a great explanation saying any sort of meeting with more than 3 people involved is not productive, right? It's not going to lead anywhere. Potentially, but you would try.
Yeah.
You would try and gather people. You would communicate. You would say, hey, I'm seeing some Kui children. You're seeing a kimono lady. What can we put together?
What can we do about this? Let's put our heads together here. Yeah.
And still, they don't speak to each other. They don't try to replicate the talismans. They don't speak to each other. They're not really trying to figure it out as a team. I was really confused when Jade and Tabitha were trying to figure out the bottle tree. That Boyd, I mean, granted, Boyd has a lot going on. He does. Boyd has so much going on. So he gets an excuse. He gets a pass. But when he's showing Boyd all of this stuff, Boyd is like, I thought you had something. Just call me when you have something.
Yeah.
Not even interested in hearing him out. So there are some choices here that are being made without, being logical. They did give us the town meeting. Yes, they did. The chat was pointing to the town meeting. It wasn't productive. They don't respect authority there.
No. The town meeting was fucking infuriating. Oh my God. That town meeting was so infuriating. We finally get this, the one thing that the whole fandom's been asking for 3 seasons now, and it's chaos. Just utter chaos and completely unproductive. It's almost like it was the writer's way of saying, see, they don't need a town meeting. Fuck you, fucking fandom. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean,
it's the disrespect. And I keep going back to how disrespectful it all was. Boyd has been going through it. He's been going through it since the minute that he got into this town. He's the only one who said, okay, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to figure something out so that you guys are not hiding every night and not living, right? And he did. He found the talismans. People are living somewhat of a life during the day, and yet they don't respect him. They scream at him, his own child, and Fatima, who made me furious, stood against them. Nobody stood for him. And then Bagda apologizes and says, hey, I got your back next time. Because I would have been furious at her, like, Bagda, be quiet. You didn't do it this time. What makes me think you're going to do it next time?
You didn't do it when it counted, Bagda, and that's what matters.
Yeah, just get away, Bagda. But not only that, they go into Tian Cheng's place. Remember the town, all of the people, the avatars that we see walking around, but we never really interact with. They go into Tian Cheng's house and they raid the pantry and take all of it for themselves.
My God,
the town is just made up of horrid people.
That scene pissed me off so fucking much. I hated that scene. I was gritting my teeth watching that scene, and I never do that. So bad. Poor Tian Chen, man. She had it rough in this final season. She got everybody, raiding her house, stealing all her fucking food, and then she gets killed. Poor thing, man. Tien Chen deserved better. Tien Chen deserved better. But yeah, no, you're right. Boyd he's being stretched to the limit. He's got a lot going on. He is being, just severely tested, severely strained. Like they are doing everything they can to break him, mind, body, and soul. And one can make the argument they did break him. This scene right here could potentially be evidence that Boyd is broken. The fact that he's torturing a teenage kid. I was all for it personally. I say, hey, if he's not going to give up the goods, torture his ass. Like I'm team Sarah in this regard. I think Sarah was the hero of the finale. Personally, Sarah fucking was the hero. So I'm team Sarah, popping out Elgin's eye all fucking day, definitely. But one can make the argument that Boyd is lost to the point where he doesn't mind smashing in a kid's freaking hand with a hammer.
And I'm always team Sarah. I know chat. Most of the chat is not team Sarah. I know she is the local serial killer. She is, the local from serial killer. But, she might be a Dexter type. There's reasons. She's doing things that she shouldn't be doing, but she has some reasoning behind that, right? She has some excuses, and I accept them. I forgive her. I always tend to believe, right? I thought, what does Boyd being broken look like? I don't think he's broken. I don't think that this is what broken Boyd looks like. A man who fixes or tries, potentially, a man who tries to fix, a man who tries to help, a man who does, right, is not broken until he doesn't get out of bed and he doesn't even try anymore.
True.
It's Machiavellian, but he's still trying.
He's strained.
He's trying in a horrid way, yes. But he's still trying, right? He still has hope. If I do this to this child, I can fix X, Y, and Z. I can get Fatima back. I can fix this for my child. So he's still making an attempt. Somebody who fixes, like Boyd, is only broken when they don't get up anymore. When you ask for help and they just give up. They don't get out of bed. They don't help anymore. That's broken. It's like scream at me or like say something to me, but do not be indifferent. And that's what brokenness looks like in a person that is always doing. To me, that's what him being broken would be.
No, I think that's a great point. Because Boyd, he is, like you said, he's still trying. He's still trying to get things done. I think he's close to being broken. I think he's very strained. But like a full-on rock bottom broken Boyd, you're right. He probably might not even be getting out of bed in the morning. So no, I think you're right. I think while he's very strained and while he might be close to the edge, he hasn't fallen off of it yet. He is still Boyd. He might be doing some things that he might not have done, but he's still Boyd. He's still trying. He still has hope that he will find Fatima in time. And that's not 100% broken Boyd by any means. So no, I agree with you. And I like this. Mike Light says they're made from the stones the children were sacrificed on. Now that's interesting. Like if it's like it has to be a special stone, maybe the children poured a little something more into just the roots above them. Maybe they poured a little something into the sacrificial stones that they were sacrificed on. That's an interesting idea, that you can only make a talisman out of the rocks that the children were sacrificed on. I don't think I've heard that theory before. So I like hearing new theories. Maybe.
I'm very surprised. I love it. I think that that's a great idea, Mike Light. And I'm always surprised by the fact that we talk about the show for hours.
And we still hear new theories.
There's still new theories and new ideas. And so it's always interesting. I like it. Somebody should try that. Absolutely.
It is interesting. You bring up a really good point. This is going on, more than 4 years now that we've been talking about this show collectively, considering there's more than a year in between seasons. This has been years now, years and years of us talking about From, discussing every single frame of every single scene of every single episode. And yet still to this day, we can still find theories that we haven't heard yet, that we haven't heard before. I love that. And it's a testament to you guys, the chat, the fandom, that you're still thinking of new things even after all these years. So yeah, that's a new one for me. Made from the stones that the children were sacrificed on. I mean, it's a good one. It's a good one. It is a good one. Yeah, people operate on what have you done for me lately? They tend to sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, great stuff. Absolutely great stuff tonight, guys. Great stuff tonight. And this is why I love doing these kind of streams, you know, whether it's we're pulling theories from the Discord or whether we're just hanging like this with the chat and listening to your guys' ideas. These streams are always a ton of fun to do. And that's why we're going to continue to do them every Sunday. I know From season 4 is still a little ways away. We still got a few more months until the season actually gets here. It looks like we're going to get it pretty early in 2026, but still got a little bit of ways. Still got a little bit of a ways, unfortunately. But to kill that time, to get us into From mode, or to keep us into From mode as we wait, we will continue to go live every single Sunday right here on the channel, 10 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to continue. I know we didn't get to all of the Discord stuff. I know I wanted to make sure I highlighted Robert's because it was very well put together, and I've been wanting to read it for a while, but I want to read everybody else's too. Like, I put that post in the tinfoil section the other day, and since then there's been just a wall of awesome theories that everybody has posted since then, and we're going to get to every single one of them. So next Sunday's Fromville Hour is going to be 100% dedicated into the Discord. We're going to go right into the tinfoil section, and we are going to pull a ton of theories that you guys have been putting in there, and we are going to take a look at all of those next Sunday, 100%. But yeah, I love discussing the show. I mean, even though, like you said, we haven't gotten a new episode for quite a while, haven't gotten any new content on From in quite a while, yet we're still getting new theories every once in a while. I love that. That's what I love about this fandom. That's what I love about this show. And that's why we love discussing it with each and every one of you, because you guys always come with something that we haven't heard before. And just when I think I've seen every theory known to man, something like that comes around the corner. So I love that. Absolutely love that. But I want to give you guys a big thank you for joining us this evening. I didn't even realize we've been going for 3 hours. I usually try to keep the streams to like 2 hours, but when we're having this much fun, it's like, shit, time just flies by. But I want to give you all a huge thank you for joining us on this fine Sunday evening. And thank you so much as well, PM, for being such a wonderful co-host.
Thank you for working with me on all of the technical issues. But yes, chat, so much fun talking to all of you guys. If you guys have not joined the Discord, join the Discord. I put the link in the chat, and leave your theories so that we could talk about them. Also, if you have something like super specific, like Robert Saunders, thank you again, amazing theories. You can send them to me on Discord, and I will put them all together for you.
Yeah, that was very well put together. You put that together perfectly for a beautiful kind of presentation. I thank you for that. It makes it so much easier for me to read as opposed to getting it out of Discord. So that's a huge help. I can't thank you enough for that. And it was a good one. It was a really great theory. And again, yeah, we're gonna dive into the rest of the Discord theories next week as well. So next Sunday, come back and hang out with us for another edition of the Fromville Hour. And together we will endure this wait until season 4 finally gets on our screens, and then it is party time once again. And speaking of party time, yes, we are going to start doing some watch parties at some point. I know PM and I kind of talked about it a little bit, but we haven't really got anything definitive down. But at some point in the very near future, yes, we're going to start doing some watch parties again. Maybe we'll just do a complete rewatch of From seasons 1, 2, and 3. Maybe we'll only do season 3. Maybe we'll let you guys vote on what you would rather do. Do you want to do a full rewatch, all 3 seasons, or do you just want to rewatch season 3? Maybe we'll have you guys vote on that. But yeah, we're definitely going to do some more watch parties. And From is definitely at the top of that list. I mean, we are currently right now covering Foundation Season 3 and Alien Earth, 2 shows that I am loving. And I would love for each and every one of you to go out there and check out those shows and come and join us on those discussions as well. Every Tuesday night, right after the new episode of Alien Earth airs, we have a live after show right here on the channel. So catch up on Alien Earth if you haven't already. It's a really good show so far. And there's a lot of fun to be discussed on Alien Earth as well every Tuesday right here on the channel. But if not, we will be here every Sunday night doing our Fromville hours, diving into all things From while we wait for the new season, or at the very least, while we wait for a season 4 teaser trailer. Because I have to imagine we're going to get some kind of teaser or some kind of trailer probably within the next few months, I would imagine. They're probably getting very close to wrapping up filming. They've been filming for a few months already. So I'm hoping that we can get some kind of trailer by, November or December, the latest. But we shall see. We shall see. But until next time, big thank you to each and every one of you for joining us on this fine, fine evening. Stay safe out there, ladies and gents. Keep all of those tinfoil hats on, folks, and we will see you on the next one.
Okay, you guys have asked for it, and here it is. We're about to start production season 4.